ocean, we get pulled in by the waves. Popping pills and bottles and we go our separate ways. Blood drawn in the sand. Cut my ties, cancel my plans.
But yeah, I think we're getting into our top 10s, yeah?
Top 10.
Oh man, so I'm sure these are going to be more kind of drawn out and more conversation. So hopefully you all are expecting WGWW TV After Dark, because it's all past my bedtime. But dope. So here we are at number 10. My number 10 album was an album that I at first was disappointed about initially. But it grew on me more, and the more that I like had the opportunity to listen to this album by myself, made me appreciate it even more. You know what I mean? Because this person was somebody that fucking I thought was gonna. I mean, it is. They definitely are one of the biggest acts in pop music. Period. You know what I mean? It's not just to me; it's to everybody. You know. But I thought that this person previously was doing so much more like interesting things when they were doing more like alternative R&B versus being like a full-on pop star. They had a few like EPs or mixtapes in the early 2010s that were just so fucking great, and even in 2015 had what I thought for a while was the best album of that year. Now I've like really like am sure that like my choice for 2015 was correct, when, you know, obviously Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen was the best album to me that year. But second, really close second, was Beauty Behind the Darkness by The Weeknd. And that catapulted him into being just a humongous pop star. And I think like the music got shit from there, because like I think he was still adjusting to this new status. And as much as everybody loved Starboy because of Daft Punk and shit, I thought that whole thing was a reach. And I didn't like the sound. But I think The Weeknd was able to actually refine that sound now, where clearly he is really, really influenced by the 80s and pop music that came from the 80s, whether it's, you know, some of the R&B joints, because like he definitely has some like Billy Ocean type songs, or like new wave type shit. You know what I mean? And like, you know, he kind of played around with that like shit with fucking Daft Punk, but to me that shit didn't work. But After Hours that he put out this year did work. And again, at first I was just like, damn, it's just another fucking Starboy rip. But then you listen to it and it's like, oh no, he's getting more nuanced. I thought it was just like watered down Starboy music, but I was like, oh no, it's more nuanced. And it's like more of an artistic direction that he's taking now. The thing that's difficult though is that the album starts out hella shit. Like I think the first two songs suck. And that's the reason why I was like, oh no, it's just like watered down Weeknd music. And it's not even like the good Weeknd music, you know? But then you get to the third song, which is Hardest to Love. And I already talked about this in the mid-year podcast, but I definitely want to touch on that. Like, Hardest to Love is a fucking Postal Service song. You know what I mean? I listen to it and I think The District Sleeps Alone Tonight. You know what I mean? Like, that, at first, I was like, man, this is the corniest song here. Because I'm expecting either like fucking trap R&B Weeknd or Starboy Weeknd. But then I listened to it in a vacuum and I was like, wait, no, I like this song a lot. The only thing is I got to take away my past pretenses about like the Weeknd. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh, dude's trying to reinvent his sound. And it wasn't just a reach for Starboy. He really wants to sound like this as a pop star. And then from there, it really then makes sense. Like, Scared to Live is definitely more of like a ballad. But then you find out that you want to know why it sounds like a ballad, because he worked with Elton John on this motherfucking song. So it's like, you start to understand, like, bruh is trying to expand his sound. But now he's finally done it in a way that's like sonically pleasing. And he also has a concept and a visual that works really well with the sound. But he still gives you like doses of the Weeknd. Like Snow Child is definitely more of a fucking like trap R&B, like alternative R&B influenced song, but with hella more reverb. So it sounds kind of Lana Del Rey-ish at the same time, you know? And it's just like, okay, my guy The Weeknd is actually transitioning successfully to being a pop star. He's no longer an alternative R&B artist. He's a pop star. And that's what he is. And that's fine. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, as much as we want a lot of artists to stay within a realm of a genre, I know as an artist, I get bored of that shit. Could you imagine being somebody like The Weeknd, where it's just like he's like one of the biggest R&B acts, and he like almost fathered this like alternative R&B sound to where people like Bryson Tiller could make a trap soul. You know what I mean? So it's like, what else could he do in that genre that would fucking entice him to make another album like that, other than him just wanting to? And if he doesn't want to, then why would you want to hear an artist make an album that they don't want to make, that they're doing because they have to? I don't want to hear that shit. So once I've been able to kind of strip away my expectations of what The Weeknd should sound like, I then fucking fell in love with The Weeknd's album. So I say all that to say I'm accepting the change, right? But then as you get past the initial cosmetic change, you listen to the lyrics and you listen to like his melodies and like his cadence and what he says, and you're like, wait, it's still him though. He's still talking his shit. He's just doing it over fucking more accessible beats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you listen to the After Hours song, the dun 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 dun, dun, and white people love that joint. But listen to what he's actually saying and think about who actually helped him write that song. Mario Winans, who is a fucking R&B, like 2000s R&B legend. He did the song, I don't want to know if you're playing me, keep it on the low. Like, and he wrote for like Cassie and all these other big R&B artists and Ashanti and shit from the early 2000s. So it's like, now I love it even more because he successfully transitioned out of a genre that he thinks he's done everything that he needs to do, right? He is actually sounding really amazing in this new genre of like 80s electro pop. You know what I mean? But he's still bringing that R&B hip hop element with him. And that then, to me, boils up into some sort of masterpiece. And when you think about like how long the album is, it's a bit longer than I'm usually comfortable with. But 14 songs, only 2 songs I skip. That's starting to like really get to like the top of someone's discography. So while I think the golden standard of The Weeknd will always be Beauty Behind the Madness, After Hours is a close second. Then House of Balloons and shit comes after that. And I love House of Balloons and all those EPs that he put out. So I think this is like a perfect like example of an artist that you love transitioning to a different genre and being successful in it. Sure, there were some growing pains. I think Starboy was definitely a growing pain, but he got there. And it's fucking incredible. So while it's still, while it's number 10, it's still really high on my list because it's one of the best albums that's come out this year. And shouts out to The Weeknd.
Nice. Yeah, I should check that out. That's the one where he's all like beat up.
Yeah. The aesthetic is perfect and it works with his narrative. So, definitely listen to that shit. It's so dope, man.
Yeah, I think it's like after the Starboy thing, I got kind of like,
I did too.
And not like I when Starboy came out, I liked Starboy. It just got overplayed. It's like and
it's just like so memeable. What you've done? Like, fuck out of here.
the hook, it's kind of corny.
So
that's
corny.
The only thing.
That's the thing. And like think about where The Weeknd came right before that, right? Listen to the hooks that he had right before. They were so much more like let your nuts hang, hip hop, provocative R&B. Like when you have fucking grandmas singing, "Girl, you worth it." You know what I mean? You have grandma saying fucking, "Go tell your friends about me. I'm that with the hair singing about popping pills, fucking bitches, living life." So, and then you go into, I'm a star boy. Look what you've done. And, you know what I mean? Like, fuck out of here, dog. Like, nah.
Yeah.
But After Hours, he's back, dog. He's back.
Yeah.
And he's gonna take over. He's gonna take over pop. He's already has, and it's just gonna keep going now.
Nice. So my number 10. Before that, actually, there's one thing I forgot to mention about Dorian Electra's album.
Oh yeah,
The Village People is featured in one of the songs.
Hell yeah.
It's just crazy. So, anyways, so my number 10 actually there is this artist I don't really know much about, so I actually don't know how much I could talk about this album or her. especially since it's not even an album; it's an EP. It's 4 songs. I just think that this 4 sweet, short and sweet songs, love songs. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like sometimes I love just listen to like a love song and just be okay with that.
Right.
But it's called Moonstone EP by Ravina.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. So like I think as far as her aesthetic, she kind of has this like 90s kind of what do you call that? Like those. Remember those pictures, kind of like that Britney Spears would have.
Yeah, for sure. Like the glamour photos.
Yeah, but like whenever I listen to her, it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what she sounds like because there's times when it comes to the instrumentation where it sounds very indie slash jazzy, but her voice is basically like kind of like an R&B singer's voice.
Right. Okay.
And I guess like some of the people. Do you know that song that gets like "Go put your records on"?
Yeah, that's God, Corinne Bailey Ray.
Yeah, so I guess like I could compare her to her, and I feel like she's just such an early artist. There's not much I know about her. Like when you look at her catalog, just singles and just like I think that's the only EP she has right now. So that's why I don't have much to say other than I feel like you should check her out so I can talk to you about her more. Because I feel like if you listen to her, you might have more to say. For me, I just enjoy this EP because it's short. It's something I can listen to, and yeah, it's something that I've been coming back to like a lot this year. Maybe it is because it's short, but maybe because it's what?
Yeah. What's her name? I definitely want to check this out.
Ravina.
Wait, say that again.
It's Raveena.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'd say my favorite song from her is "Headaches." Yeah, I think that's a good place to start with.
Okay, cool. You said it's a 3-song EP?
4-song EP.
4-song? Perfect. I'll listen to that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's
Where are they from?
I don't know anything about her. I'd look at least. I didn't look on Wikipedia or anything, but you know how there's always like descriptions of artists on the bottom. It doesn't say anything other than she's with Empire. So.
Oh, so she independent too. That's fire.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, very independent.
Yeah, she's
independent artist is how I feel. Like
yeah. Sick. Well, I'll check Ravina out. Hell yeah. Okay, dope. What number are we on? 9?
9.
Oh man, so 9 for a while was gonna be Folklore by Taylor Swift, but I compare this album to Taylor Swift's Folklore. I don't know now that like there's been time for me to think about it. I don't know if we're talking about the same album, but here's the thing: like I love this fucking album, right? But I was a bit late to it, not because I'm not hip to the artist, because I fucking love this artist. But it was just one of those things where it's just like, oh shit, I didn't know they put this out. And then again, I compare it with a Taylor Swift album, and I don't think it's necessarily a fair comparison. But I think what Taylor Swift tried to do, this person just does better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just do it better. The lyricism, the instrumentation, even like the mix. This year I've been able to like pay more attention to mixing than ever. So I'll talk about this too. But when I was comparing this album with the Taylor Swift album, it was like, okay, this person does it better. But for some reason, I listened to the Taylor Swift album more, even though I like this album better, right? Not just like objectively, but also just like my preference. I would rather listen to this album normally. But for some reason, I listened to the Folklore album more. And again, I think it's because I'm just surprised that I could really, really, really like a Taylor Swift album. And also, when I'm hanging out with very, very beautiful and respectable females, we definitely have more to talk about if I fully immerse myself in a Taylor Swift album that I actually love. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why I listen to it more. Or maybe more people know it. So like, oh, you know that? I'm like, yeah, let me put on fucking Cardigan right now. You know what I mean? Like, but again, like, I think this album's better. So I just couldn't in my conscience say just because I listen to Folklore more, it's gonna rank higher than this album because I just like this album better and it is better. And it's Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers. My God, like Phoebe Bridgers, I always thought was dope because she's on fucking Dead Oceans, which is one of my favorite like art pop labels. White Hinterland's on there, Mitski's on there, so there's just a lot of good. I think Japanese Breakfast is on there too. Fucking Dead Oceans is a great label. So Phoebe Bridgers, her last album, I think it came out like 2017, right? I think. When did Stranger in the Alps come out? I think it's 2017. Anyway, but my initial like thought of this album, because I heard it late, was it sounds like the Taylor Swift album. And I couldn't be more wrong because this is just like this is like what the Taylor Swift album wanted to be, I think, you know? And again, I'll touch on the mixing. I think this album, the way I explain it is like, it has like a haunting, eerie feel to it, but also comforting at the same time. So it's like, you know how like Au Revoir Simone's first album, Verses of Comfort, Assurance, and Salvation, that album gave me such a Virgin Suicides vibe that it was like kind of creepy. But then like the way they sing and the way that they mixed their vocals, in regards, or the way they mixed their instrumentals in contrast with their vocals, just made it feel cozy. And I think this Phoebe Bridgers album does the same thing. What I was telling people that I would show this album to that know Au Revoir Simone was that this feels like an Au Revoir Simone album if they played guitar instead of keyboards. You know what I mean? The mixing, I always thought it was interesting that Au Revoir Simone used to do this too, because I feel like it was like the reverse new wave method, where in new wave all the instrumentation felt super dry compared to how wet the vocals would be. So it's just like you get that, like, you know, that distinct jangle 80s sound, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
New wave. And fucking Au Revoir Simone did that backwards, right? Where they fucking like made all of the instrumentation so lush with reverb and delay, but their vocals, even though there's always going to be, of course, like a bit of delay and reverb on it, felt so much warmer and present, so that it was like the environment was all dreamy and these girls were leading you through it, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's how Au Revoir Simone felt, and I feel like this is how Punisher feels, because for some reason, especially on the first actual song, Garden song, because the first song is like an intro called DVD Menu, which is all super ambient. But Garden song, the guitars, I don't know, the guitars are like fucking like EQ'd and like almost like you could barely even like know, it's barely intelligible. Like you feel the structure and the melody, but you don't necessarily, I guess, you don't necessarily fucking hear exactly what's being picked in the finger. But the vocals are there, and Phoebe's fucking haunting ass voice just leading you through. And this album is it's a fucking bummer. This album. So that's why I was like, you know what? Maybe the reason why I don't listen to Folklore more too is that this album is so much more of an investment emotionally. Because it's a fucking bummer. And even the songs that feel like it's like, all right, let's turn this shit up, let's feel better, you know what I mean? You listen to the lyrics and it's not like, wait, we're happy about this, like Kyoto, right? Obviously that comes in and it's like more of like an indie rock sound. It sounds like a Death Cab for Cutie song, or like the Shins or something like that. But then it's like a sad ass message, you know what I mean? And then after that you go back into like the lull, not the lull, but like the quiet, depressing Punisher, where I think that song is actually like an ode to Elliott Smith, right? And then fucking Halloween, which has some of my favorite lyrics on it too. What's that lyric? Was like, she lives by like a hospital, right? So you know, like the sirens wake her up, so if you wake me up, somebody better be dying. That's hilarious. But then Chinese Satellite comes in and it's a little bit more upbeat too, but it's still so fucking depressing. But my favorite song on this, probably Moon Song. I just like sad songs in 3/4. Because it's like a waltz, but it's depressing. Like Apple Orchard's fucking Saddest Perfect Ending, or The False Contender by Camera Obscura. Though, like, I like shit like that. And Savior Complex again, a fucking like really folk, just really depressing song. And then ICU comes on, and you're like, oh wait, I think this is a hopeful song. And then no, she's like, I just fuck everything up. I'm afraid I'll feel good again. Every time I feel good, it's like the last time. But the hook is so fucking amazing on ICU. And like I was like, okay, I want this to be the end of the album. Like I want this to be the end. That's the thing that kind of keeps it a little bit lower in my top 10 though, because I think Graceland 2 that because like there's more like Americana and country instrumentation in it that makes that's I think that was another reason why I was able to tie this to the Folklore album, because there's like, okay, it's like mostly a folk indie rock album, but there's like country elements to it. And while that song is cool, like I think like the message of the song is cool, I was just like, I hate hearing banjo. Like I just I just don't like the sound of a banjo.
Yeah.
Unless it's like really like hokily done, like Unwell by Matchbox 20. Do you remember that song? Unwell by Matchbox 20.
How does that go?
I'm not crazy, I'm just a little
yeah,
But do you remember like how that song, the main fucking yeah? Do you remember how like the main fucking instrument is like, yeah, it's like really hokey. That I'll take.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like the Jackass song, I guess the Jackass song or the King of the Hill song, but.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear no damn banjo, so like shut the fuck up with that. But you know, so that was like the one song I don't like on the album. But then it fucking finishes strong with I Know the End, which is like probably my second favorite song. Well, my third, because I think Garden Song is my second favorite song. And then Kyoto. But this album is so great, dog. And I think the reason why I listen to this less than Taylor Swift is because it's just depressing and like it takes a lot out of me to listen. So I just don't know if, again, like I was considering putting Folklore higher because I didn't think it was a better album, but am I just like enjoying it more because I'm like surprised Taylor could do this?
Yeah.
But it's also like also related to, oh, more people I know listen to this album, and oh, this song doesn't bum me out as much. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, but Punisher could have been higher if I would actually listen to it on time. Was it you that told me that this came out, or was it? So yeah. So I came to it late, and again, I'm just very happy that I listened to it. I wish I would have listened to it when it came out. Cammy is also somebody who is a very big fan of Phoebe Bridgers, so I don't know if she also like threw the name in the hat either. I got her the vinyl for fucking Christmas. But yeah, great album. If I would have listened to it back in June when it came out, I probably would have like put it even higher. Yeah.
It's awesome. That's awesome. I like Phoebe Bridgers. But,
Should we put a pin in the convo?
yeah, we'll
okay.
put on the convo right there. So
cool.
So for my number 9, he's a rapper who
you put mine on there? Come on, bro. You ain't gotta do all that. My shit ain't even come out yet.
I think he's a very interesting rapper because he also a lot of his stuff when he makes songs, apparently he like makes like I don't know, I think 70 or something a year. This guy works a lot. But he also is someone that not everyone's gonna get into because his production is pretty out there sometimes. It's almost mixed with I feel like he's kind of influenced by Death Grips sometimes. But this release is EP by Jpeg Mafia.
Yeah, I was waiting for this one.
So with Jpeg Mafia, when I first heard about him through his album Veteran, I think that was a really good album because it's a good introduction to him. And I think I'd say like I guess artistically or technically or maybe objectively you could say that that's still kind of his standard as an album, you know? That's kind of like I feel like a lot of people would say his best album to date. I think when Cornball came out, All My Heroes Are Cornball, I think it's also good. He had strong songs in there like
Forgive me Jesus for I'm a Thought.
I'm a Thought, and then the Beta Male Strategies and stuff like that. Like and like he has a sense of humor that's like very grounded to the internet age and
for sure.
You know, trolls and stuff like that. So like, he has that persona that's kind of like almost like he's still a cool guy,
Yeah.
but like he like is seen a lot more, I guess, through the internet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I would rank this second even more than Cornball. And even though I could say that Veteran is still a better album, I feel like I don't listen to it or get through the whole album itself. Like I stop, you know. While this one I would listen throughout, like just like from beginning to end. It's like not too long. First of all, let me pull it up real quick. EP. And like it's weird because his production in here feels more subdued. It still feels like him, but he's also adding more like kind of like musical, like old school elements to it.
As opposed to just like fucking like almost like the death gripsy, like almost industrial production style.
Yeah, yeah. So it doesn't. Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't feel industrial at all. Actually, I feel like you can still feel like it's JPEG based on the patterns of the beats. But as far as the sound of the beats, it sounds almost like boom bap sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's overall like JPEG just sounds good rapping.
Oh yeah, he really does. He has an underrated rap voice.
He does. No, yeah, his rap voice is really good, and he's still towing the line in between like being this really dope kind of like sometimes heavy or dark artist and a cloud rapper.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like that's what I like about him, because at the end of the day, he still feels like this really good cloud rapper, and I don't want him to be like too commercialized to come out with like bangers. I want him to keep coming out with like kind of like this phased out music where like at the end of the day, even though like his voice doesn't sound that hard, the way he's like saying his words sounds hard, like I feel like he's the type of person like you don't want to fuck with.
Yeah, I mean, definitely
sounds scary, but because like he's got that that energy and that explosiveness.
Also, he's trained in combat. He was in the.
Oh, is that why he's veteran?
Yeah. So I wouldn't fuck with him ever, man.
Oh man. But yeah. When the first song I heard from this EP is "Cutie Pie." And I think I showed that to you when it first came out, and I was just surprised. Like, first, an album that feels as if like it's moved kind of far from, well, not far, it's moved away from what JPEG usually is. He still is able to make it him,
right?
And it didn't stray that far. It didn't stray that far at all. But it's still, you're gonna notice a difference. I think more people are gonna find this accessible.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's way more accessible. Yeah,
way more accessible. But it doesn't feel like it's because I need to be more accessible. I feel like it's like, where like he's just interested in making this type of album right now.
And you noticed it too with like the beat he produced for Danny Brown in you know what I'm saying? So you kind of saw that coming. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, I was gonna actually. That's the thing. I was like trying to think of, but I can't like think of Danny Brown's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It feels like this, except better.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. I listened to the album too. I did like it. It's not in my top 20, but I did like this, and I think it is like. Now that I was late to Veteran, obviously, but I'm able to appreciate Veteran now in retrospect.
Yeah.
So like I actually still think that's better than this. So yeah, I totally agree. Like, Veteran's better, but I do think like this is just like a natural step towards more people fucking with Peggy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is what it is. And like when you get co-signed, when you get somebody like Danny Brown that says you're the best in hip hop right now, people listen to that shit.
Yeah. And I guess like because of this, I'm actually looking forward more to what he's gonna make.
Yeah.
Because I now want him to find that perfect like what do you call that? Balance between the songs on Veteran that were very accessible to me. Because for me, like, what song was it? the what do you call that?
Oh shit. My God, why can't I
Wait, no, no,
look at the
not
track listing right now?
Thug Tears. There you
Thug
go.
Tears. Okay.
Like Thug Tears and Calvert. Like I feel like those songs would actually fit in this EP.
Hmm.
You know, if he could come out with more of those, I feel like he'd kind of like make a Veteran 2 that's actually more accessible.
Yeah.
You know, like I think he's gonna find that perfect balance where like this is not his peak yet. With the amount of songs he's making,
Hmm.
uh, the only other fear would be to get too saturated. But
Yeah.
this, I guess, the other thing too is this EP, while it's not that high, even though I enjoyed it, is at the end it did end up feeling like a B sides.
Yeah. That's true. I could see that. Maybe he's fucking leading up to something bigger. You never know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Peggy's dope, man. I fuck with Peggy. Dope.
Peggy.
Awesome. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, number 8. So number 8 is just hands down probably my favorite rapper to ever come out of the Bay Area. I've never liked a Bay Area rapper more than this. I said this hella last year in my 2019 list when this person had the number 2 album on my list. This time it's a little bit lower. Even though it is considered an album in Rex Life Raj term, it's definitely more of an EP because it's only 8 songs, 22 minutes. But it's Rex Life Raj's California Poppy 2. Whenever you get California Poppy from Rex Life Raj, it's gonna be much less R&B than it usually is because Rex is more like, the thing that I love about him the most is that he definitely, like, while he's a rapper, in his heart it's R&B rap. You know what I mean? And it's just like comes through in his music. Like he's just the most melodic rapper that actually raps bars. You know what I mean? Like usually when they say, "Oh, this rapper's melodic," it's because he doesn't really spit like that. You know what I mean? He just like raps and then like uses more melodies to make it cooler than it actually is. Rex Life Raj he's rapping, bruh. Like he's definitely rapping, but he's putting melody in everything. And I don't know, man. Like I think like me and Chemo for sure. Like you definitely hear how much we like are influenced by Rex, and he's, I think, younger than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this guy's awesome. He's from Berkeley. He fucking played offensive lineman in college. Like he was a division. He went to a Division I school. I think he went to Boise State, which is like one of the best football schools in the nation. And he fucking played on the offensive line. Usually rappers look like quarterbacks or running backs or wide receiver. This motherfucker was on the offensive line. So you see Rex Life Raj on stage, he's like 6'2", about 270. You know what I'm saying? Like you definitely don't want to fuck with him. You know what I mean? But then he sings to you. It's so beautiful. Like he has a keyboard player on stage, and the keyboard player always got that setting on when it's like piano and like strings. You know what I mean? So he's like fucking like, oh, it's so beautiful. And Rex Life Raj is just like rapping, singing to you about how you're fucking up your fucking like mental health. You know what I mean? And Father Figure 3 that came out last year was so great. And the reason why it was so great was because of how like melodic it was. That if I have to compare California Poppy, that series, to the Father Figure series, I would always prefer Father Figure because there's just much more melody in it. However, all the songs on California Poppy 2 is still fucking amazing. Apple Stock is such a great song. Fucking Rex Life Raj has a song with Juvenile. What the fuck? Even though Juvenile says some crazy shit on that song, which is kind of crazy. So, you know, Juvenile just an old head though, so you know he's gonna say some crazy shit. He has a song on here called "Tesla in the Pandemic" because he bought a Tesla during the pandemic, and he's very thankful. That's awesome. And then also the last song on this project is my favorite one, "Bad Bad Bad." He has just like again, that's where he really mixes up like the melody and the rapping, and it's just fucking amazing. I don't know why NPR hasn't done a Tiny Desk with him, because he has one of the dopest live performances I've ever seen on YouTube, and he did it on a live stream during the pandemic. And I'll send you the link to that because you need to see that, because that's how I want to do my live shows for Medium Freak. So, you know, I'd like to have a mini live band, not like a full live band with the drums and everything. No, we'll have a DJ. We'll have some backing tracks, but then we'll have a keyboard player and a guitar player on stage. You know what I'm saying? That would be fucking fire. You feel me? So anyway, I'll send you that video. But yeah, if you like hip hop, you like R&B, and you want to actually support a Bay artist that isn't fucking super corny, here you go. Rex Life Raj.
Nice. Yeah, I need to check out Rex more because he's part of TDE, right?
Huh?
He's part of TDE.
No.
I'm thinking of someone else. I'm thinking of Isaiah Rashad.
No, Isaiah Rashad. That's like, no.
Yeah, you said he's from the Bay.
Yeah, he's from Berkeley. He's on Empire, but Empire's, you're independent. They're just distributing you. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to check him out. I don't know much.
He's the most melodic fucking underground rapper in the Bay, even more than me.
Nice. So, my number 8. Yeah.
Yes.
My number 8 is a group that I've been following for a while now. I've seen them live once, and I gotta say, there's only 2 of them. They're twins, and even though there's just 2 of them, it's just a guitar, or not even guitar, a bassist and a drummer. Their performance, their like energy is just larger than life. That it felt like a full band there. Like people went crazy when they were playing. Like people would get on stage, do stage dives and stuff. And they kind of just experiment a lot when it comes to like post-punk, punk, and like the garage scene, And what I like about them is like they would take a song and add sometimes those really annoying, like, you remember before when we used to play with a keyboard and with the yeah. So they're the type of artists that could use those things and not be cheesy. Like I feel like they, in a way, they're just taking whatever's available to them.
Yeah.
And somehow they're able to make something out of it. I don't think it's, if you're someone who likes melody and stuff, I don't think you'll gravitate towards them because they're very like, sometimes, they're just yelling, like playing the drums really loud and stuff like that. But I still think that like this album that they came out with is actually a little bit more toned down from that.
Okay.
Kind of went back to a more like, I guess, went back more to the garage rather than the experimental. And they still get to the experimental part. I guess they start off just kind of like mellow, and eventually they kind of build up to like all the screaming and shit like that. And usually I'm not the type of person who like just loud music, like craziness like that, unless it's like like Death Grips, I guess. But when it comes to like just drums and just like a band, like I don't like the, what do you call that? I don't know, we're just
Is that the technical term for it?
Yeah. But yeah, I guess like I don't know. I think they're part of Epitaph. It's not the PC music people, but they blend well with people like 100 Gex and Doria and Electra. Because they like, for a lot of their songs, they would take like a sample, like a drum beat, and just incorporate that to their songs, and that's what I like about them. They're not like I said, if you are someone who likes melody, more structure in your songs, they're definitely gonna try to break that. I feel like that's the thing. I feel like they start off with like something you can grab onto, and then they just kind of like go into fits of like in breaking that, And it's like people like these two, they're twins, right? And it just seems like they feed off each other so well and their energy, and that it also sounds like sometimes just like spoiled brats who are just like playing in their garage, yelling at their mom or something, Yeah, I mean, I enjoy what they do, their type of music. I don't think they're for everyone.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, did you ever give the name of this group of the album?
Oh, whoa! Did I not? That's the Garden. Did I not really?
I don't think. Either I'm hella high or you're hella high, or both could be true. But I think So was it The Garden? Was the album called?
Kiss My Super Bowl Ring.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And some of my highlight songs, if you want to start off with like something that's like I said, mellow, like Clench to Stay Awake. It just sounds like what do you call that? I don't know. It's hard to really just compare it right now. But they also have like a song where they have Errol Pink in it.
Oh, nice.
Um, the only thing I would say though, I was a little disappointed with that because I feel like the Errol Pink didn't show up enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only thing. But I say give it a listen.
You said they were on that Dorian Electra song, right?
Yes,
Which Dorian Electra song were they on?
F the World.
Oh, wait, the one where it's like the fucking coffee girl.
Yeah, but I don't know if we were just like distracted or if it was even in
The video.
the album the video because I feel like it got cut
Oh,
out
it
because
might have.
there's two there was them and there was someone else. Oh yeah, that's the crazy thing with that song. It's like Dorian Electra,
Mm-hmm.
The Garden, right? Which is like they're kind of like white guy kind of yelling slash almost turning into rap but not.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the guy that raps in the end.
What
And
the
I was
fuck?
like, this all went well together. What the
Yeah.
fuck, you know?
That's
And you
so
remember how that song sounded too. It
Yeah.
sounded like dubstep.
Yeah,
You know? Like,
for sure. It was definitely it definitely caught my attention. And again, like I've been trying. I'm like delving into Dorian Electra because of everything you showed me. Fucking sick. That's tight. That Garden's on there. That's awesome. Sick. So is it my turn now? Are we on 7?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this one, I'm glad is on my list this year, because I feel like it was one of those things where I feel like they didn't want to release it unless they were able to like play the shows, and I just can't. I can imagine how dope their shows are gonna be with these songs, because this group has always put out hard hip hop, but I think. And I know I'm sure not a lot of people agree with me, because I have some friends that are really into this group that says they like this album, but it's their worst one because it's the most kind of like glossy. But again, to me, a melodic pop dude, this was exactly what I wanted, and it was like not too melodic to where they seemed pussy and they were going commercial. They still kept that hardcore hip hop sensibility, but they were just like, it's just like obviously they know they're in the mainstream now, and it's RTJ4 by Run the Jewels. This album's fucking amazing, because again, I think they started to kind of cater a little bit more to me, and towards more melodic or more like smooth production than normal. That's not to say I didn't love all the RTJ shit before this, you know what I mean? RTJ 1 might be like my favorite one out of all of them too, because of how like fucking how hardcore it is and rough it is, you know? And LP is just like a god producer, you know what I mean? And you could just tell that they are best friends because they make perfect music together. Like, I don't know how we were able to listen to Killer Mike and LP in their own projects before. And I listened to like fucking rap music, and I listened to A Cancer for Cure and stuff like that, and I'm like, it's dope, but it's missing fucking the other person, even if LP produced rap music, you know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting for the LP verse every time, because you need to hear both of them, you know what I mean? So I think, again, like they've got, I think that this is their like magnum opus, to be honest. They were able to take all of the elements that was already dope that they were doing, but then add a more gloss to it, and then also bring in the perfect, again, features. I think so many hip hop albums, you need to bring the right features in if you are going to bring features in, you know? And having fucking that Greg Nice sample on fucking Ooh La La, and the dopest way to like pay homage to like classic hip hop is to make that fucking ad lib put it in the mainstream again. Now every time you hear "ooh la la ah wee wee," you just hear, you already know it. The music video is fucking amazing, by the way. Killer Mike wearing a Joy Division fucking denim jacket is sick as fuck. But then you get 2 Chainz on Out of Sight, and he fucking with his classic 2 Chainz. When you think all he's gonna do is booty music, put him on a song with Killer Mike and LP, and he's gonna rap. Fucking Holy Kalamafuck is amazing. Walking in the Snow, Gangster Boo in that. She fucking kills it even if she's not credited. But I think we all know, like, the best song on this album is definitely Just. Pharrell on it, amazing. Zach De La Rocha's verse at the end, amazing. The Message, amazing. And when they dropped the fucking lyric video for it, just how timely everything was. I think the album was also put out at the beginning of June, right? Like right when all the George Floyd stuff was happening. Just the timeliness of it. Like, and that just shows that Killer Mike and LP will always be the voice of like the culture. You know what I mean? From all because like they're collecting thoughts and ideas from all sides of this culture that we call hip hop. You know what I mean? Yeah. From all the upper class white dudes that are definitely a part of the hip hop community, but coming from a much more privileged kind of more like indie backpack aesthetic to the fucking streets that Killer Mike is from and all that shit. So it's just, again, like, I think RTJ just doing what they normally do, but adding more melody to it. And I think it just shows that like LP could produce for any single rapper in hip hop. So put some respect on it. And RTJ.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like that album.
So it sounds like we should put a pin in that. Okay. Cool.
All right. So for my number 4.
Wait. We're on number 6, man.
Oh, number 6. You're right.
RTJ 4.
All right. So number 6. This is a band that I basically discovered just randomly seeing him live once. You know.
Always the best way.
Always the best way. Yeah. The thing with their songs is that, like, I don't know, when I hear it, it sounds like songs I've heard before.
Mm-hmm.
But but it's not. It has that certain sound that, like, or I guess like it's how good it is sometimes. Where I feel like I've heard it. It's like yeah, like I've definitely heard this before. I like this song. You know, so
right.
Like, dude, they just released it like yesterday. But it's Porches, and the title of the album is Ricky Music.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I stumbled upon them in person first, but I didn't really like listen to their full album. I just picked out songs I liked from that show and would go back there from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But with this new album, when it came out, I don't know, it's just like from beginning to end, it just was very enjoyable to me, and it's something I kept coming back to. The album opens up with the song Patience. It goes like, well, I'm rooting for you, and I'm rooting for me, and I'm rooting for that baby. I don't know. It just, to me, it started off just right. Where like during the time when I listened to this, I guess I was just like trying to get back into working out and stuff like that. And this is like way back in beginning quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And when that song came on, I don't know, I just felt motivated to go for a run. You know,
That's awesome.
like the song is kind of just, I don't know, it's encouraging because it's like he's talking about this like rooting for someone that he can't be with in a way.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just that patience, like maybe whatever is happening right now is gonna turn into something in the end. And I think you'll like them too, because like whenever I listen to them, they remind me as if it's like especially some songs, like I think it was PFB. Like that one sound to me as if it's a mixture of like the Strokes, but the guitars and the way it's played, the instrumentation, it's almost like Radio Department.
Oh, crazy.
Like what is it?
Oh, fucking! I don't like it like this.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like just those type of instrumentations and stuff like that. I
sick.
guess like yeah, if I was to describe this band, it's almost like Radio Department, but the singer sort of it's much more like clear and kind of sounds like I mean this might like turn you off from listening to them, but it's almost like Radio Department but with like the Coldplay guy as the singer.
Chris Martin. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll check
But
it.
yeah, I just think that it's a good album. It's a good place to start if you want to get into Porches.
Gotcha. Sounds good. So you said you saw them at a show randomly. Where'd you go?
It was the Chapel.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember you talking about this actually.
Like
Yeah.
we were listening, or like I went there and like we were waiting for like this band, right? That we're gonna watch, and then like the third act comes and it's Porches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this is really good. This is really good. I can't believe this is not the headliner.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is the headliner. I'm still waiting for that artist, but then it turns out they were the headliner. That I think that they changed their name,
Uh huh.
and so yeah,
Holy shit! Damn,
yeah.
that's crazy. Well, that's dope. I'll check them out, especially if it's Strokes and fucking Radio Department. That's a crazy mix. Sick. What number are we on? We're on 6.
Well, 5 now. Oh shit, I skipped.
Oh man.
No, you know what though? Actually, I did it because I was thinking of flipping these two.
Well,
Yeah, I'd flip it.
Freudian slip. It just happened like that. All right.
So it is.
Well, my 6. This one's actually my 6. Is another album with a Bay Area rapper. He's from San Francisco, actually. His name is Medium. No, another Bay Area rapper. And this is another album that is an example of a rapper that makes an album with one specific producer. And it's Larry June and Harry Fraud's Keep Going. Harry Fraud, we all know, is a producer. He's done a bunch of shit with like Action Bronson and stuff like that. But he's also done an album with Just Currency. So he does shit like this. And Larry June is one of the Bay Area's previously best kept secrets. He was like Dom Kennedy to LA is what Larry June is to San Francisco. It's like, or to the Bay. And he's been doing progressively more kind of like mainstream stuff, working with like London Drugs and shit, who's like Jay Worthy from Bompton and shit like that. But Larry June's always had like his own swag. Like he's not like the most technical rapper in the world. He actually raps more like Lil B, honestly. But he's just so cool. Like the thing about Larry June is he's just a cool ass dude, like a 70s dude that I was being like, ha, jive turkey in the 70s. What he would be like in 2020 is Larry June. He's just a cool dude. He's unassuming. He fucking is all about health. All he ever talks about is fucking stay healthy on a hoe and fucking like eat vegetables and drink fruit and fucking go ride a bike and shit like that. And but then at the same time, he's all about dope ass cars, and he's just lingo is just crazy. And I think so many people from the Bay borrow from Larry June, and so many people from California period borrow from Larry June. And he'd always have like songs here and there that would move, but it would never be like a full project. And this year he dropped like 3 albums or something, and I just haven't listened to all of them. But Keep Going, one that I did listen to, is I felt the same way I felt when I listened to the fucking Griselda album last year, but from a fucking Bay Area rapper, which again, not a lot of lyrical dudes coming from the Bay Area. It's mostly fucking like style and fucking like, message than it is actual like fucking bars, But like all the song, like there's barely any songs that have like a tangible drum beat. It's all more like very cinematic mafioso type fucking beats, which work with Larry June's voice so perfectly because he has a deep ass, almost monotone voice, but he also sings and stuff in a lot of the hooks. In the songs that do have like a drum beat, it's much more like 80s funk than it is like fucking today's hip hop. Like he has a song with Jay Worthy from London Drugs. It's called Orange Juice in Vancouver. And it's like an 80s fucking like funk song, but then he has songs that are all pretty much just like fucking bass, really cool fucking guitars and like fucking like mafioso violins that he just raps over, kind of like that Griselda album from last year. But he has like songs with like Currency, Dom Kennedy, and it's just all fucking like really, again, cinematic. My favorite song is Organic Miracles, because that one is like a perfect setup song, and like he's hella melodic in it too, and he's like, I put my heart in the game, it gave me everything I needed. That shit is fire, man. Definitely listen to it. Numbers, stay healthy on a broke bitch. You know what I'm saying? Good job. That's all his ad libs. It's amazing.
Yeah. Who is it you said?
Larry June. He's from Hunters. He's from Hunters Point here in San Francisco.
Damn, check that out.
Hell yeah, bro. He did a whole album with Harry Fraud. He did another one with Harry Fraud that just came out, actually, I think. Yeah, he does hella stuff like Dom Kennedy from LA and shit like that. Yeah, he's a tap day. When I go on his Instagram, you're just like, wait, how the fuck is he fucking like DMing with ASAP Rocky? Like how is it? It's just, he's like every rapper, your favorite rapper's favorite Bay Area rapper.
Nice. All right. Well, my top six.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, my top six. It's actually an artist that you introduced me to.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So number 6 is "I Feel Alive" by Tops.
Oh, baby.
I gotta say, I mean, it's just a good album. It's something I put on. Makes me feel happy, you know. The way it starts is just dun dun dun. It's like, I mean, like, there's so many artists I could think of. Like, that song itself reminds me of Ariel Pink.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Especially the dun dun, it's that like flutes, I guess.
Yeah. The like in between after the hook.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Pirouette is good.
Oh,
like,
I love that song.
And I guess that's the thing with like Pirouette, kind of reminds me of like the jangly, almost like Blondie.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you know what's crazy? In my notes on that song, which I'm gonna talk about later, for Pirouette, I said Blondie and Voxtrot. If Debbie Harry sang for Voxtrot. Yeah,
it's Blondie, but then that driving drum and like guitar feels hella Foxtrot.
Yeah.
You know? But I do feel that for all their songs, though, like even the Ballads and Sad Movies, like.
You mean salads and bad movies? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, it's a ballad and sad movie.
But I don't know. That reminds me of just older songs, but like it doesn't feel like they're copying.
Definitely.
You know, that's like their actual sound. I also like how in like, is it Pirouette, which it says "bitch, please"?
Yeah.
She has that like slight lisp, you know?
Yeah, because she's French Canadian, so they
Oh,
have a weird accent.
Yeah, I just really like her voice too. It's very like kind of smooth and soft, you know? Like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot I know that you want to say about this band. This is just an introduction for me. I think it's a solid album. Like I said, this is something I know I'm gonna keep coming back to, even in 2021.
Hell yeah.
You know, there's songs here that like remind me of Still Corners.
Hell yeah.
You know, I feel like they're kind of in the same genre. I feel like they just sound more modern.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where I feel like someone who listens to hip hop will be able to enjoy this. You know, because like production alone sounds amazing.
So good.
You know, like it sounds like, what's the word for it? I don't know. There's not much I can describe because like sometimes they have that like kind of like older like 70s sound, but then they add on like a saw or a synth.
Yeah.
And you know, like a light one, and it blends perfectly. Like they know how to mix different, not genres, like elements of other genres,
Right.
into basically what an indie pop, you know, a modern indie pop.
Yeah, like
And I
even
feel like
on Pirouette, right? Like it's more of like a guitar driven, like more like power pop song. But then after that, they throw in that square during the hook. Like, why? Like, it's like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, but then it makes sense at the same time, you know?
And I guess like to me that's just almost like sometimes what I am chasing in a way where like you're bringing your indie influence,
Mm-hmm.
or like all your like kind of like classic kind of bands like Fleetwood Mac and Blondie and stuff like that all into one,
Yeah,
and then still add the electronic element to it,
yeah.
and it works. At the end of the day, it does sound like a full band. Like it's pretty awesome.
It's hell yeah, man. And Tops, yeah, I knew you would like them, bro. When I showed when I showed them to you, I was like, he's gonna like this shit because I'm like obsessed with it, and I know that with kind of like the music we fucking used to always like trade together and play together, and it was gonna make sense. And I'll tell you how I found out about the album
Yeah.
later, but yeah,
I guess the other thing too is like it's very catchy, and I think
super.
the catch of it is the kind of like the way they sing over it, as like the kind of like a stopping
Mm-hmm.
sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
They just know exactly when to like, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun, 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 dun.
it's
Yeah. There's like just movement throughout. Where like a lot of bands, I feel like why they're harder to listen to is it feels like it's just chunks of the same thing.
yeah,
While they're just like there's this whole like movement. Oh, it's leading up to a chorus, but before that there's a pre-chorus, and then there's something to like after the chorus to lead you back into like
yeah.
verses.
That you hit around the head. I was gonna say that too. That like they're very 70s in that way, where like bands like Fleetwood Mac and fucking Cream and stuff like that, they knew how their instrumentation should accent the chorus versus
Yeah.
the chorus just being vocal melody, right? Because oftentimes, even especially with hip hop, the chorus is just a vocal melody because the beat's exactly what it always is. You just come
Yeah.
up with the hook with your vocal melody. But 70s bands, like even like look at like Queen and shit too, they emphasized all the important bits of your chorus and they wrote instrumentation around it, and that's when
Yeah.
you could just tell like it's a band and not like an artist and then a producer or a person that writes for the rest of the band. You could tell like they all five work these parts out together, and
Yeah.
you miss that in so much music these days. Yeah.
No, no, I think you're right about that, and not to like overuse this word, but like I said, like the driving force behind it
Yeah.
is because like while yeah, it feels like everything's moving together at the
Mhm.
same time, synchronicity. Like while this vocal melody is going,
Yeah.
so it's like the guitar's chugging behind it, as if like it's just like it's the thing carrying
Yeah.
that vocal.
Yeah.
And the whole time always catching it's like, yeah, I'll support you, I'll support you.
Yeah.
Oh, I threw you over here so I could like go over here and catch you again.
Word. Hell yeah. And that's why so many bands that came from the 70s, their music sticks, right? Like think about Fleetwood Mac and think about like the Eagles and shit like that. The reason why their music works with like our parents' generation is they'll never forget the choruses. Or they'll never forget those few parts of the songs that's supposed to be emphasized because the instrumentation follows suit. We miss
Yeah.
that dynamic quality of like composition because oftentimes it's artist and producer that just writes vocals over something that's already done. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad you fucking liked the album and you put it at number 6, so you must have liked it. That's awesome, man. That might be the highest ranking album that you've ever had that I fucking like introduced you to. I'm very proud right now. I'm proud as fuck, man. Awesome. Well, my number 5. Oh, damn, we're in the top 5 now. Oh god, it's 1:40 a.m. We better be in the fucking top 5. My bad,
know,
bro.
right?
I know you have work tomorrow. My bad, man. But my number 5, this was already mentioned earlier, but this was also a pleasant surprise because I was fully expecting this to suck, not because of the project they most recently released, but their last big project. I think actually they put another. This might be an inaccurate statement. Whatever the case, I didn't think Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon 3 was going to be good because of how bad Speeding Bullet to Heaven was and all the stuff that came out in that era. I think the last time I liked a Kid Cudi project was when he did that Wizard project when it was like more like instrument based production, and not a lot of people liked it, but I actually really liked Wizard. But Speeding Boots of it was ass. You know, it was starting to kind of get better, but then he put out Kids See Ghosts with Kanye, and we're like, why can't he just do this?
Yeah.
But again, I understand as an artist, he's done everything he could in that genre initially because he created that sound. Kanye borrowed from him for 808s and Heartbreaks. You know what I mean? Travis Scott comes from Kid Cudi's sound, and Travis Scott always says that. Kid Cudi made it possible for everyone. Like, I could easily say, no Kid Cudi, no Post Malone. Sorry, white people. You know what I'm saying? I can honestly say, no Kid Cudi, no entire genre that created SoundCloud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of that shit exists without Kid Cudi, so we gotta put yourself in his shoes. Like, what else was he gonna do in that genre? Of course you're gonna want to do other shit. By all means, do it. But if it's ass, we're gonna fucking tell you it's ass. You know what I mean? So, you know, you're expecting kind of the worst, and then he like falls out with Kanye, because who doesn't fall out with Kanye? He's fucking insane, even though he was my hero growing up. I remember there was like a sliver of hope that I would get a good Kid Cudi project again. Do you remember when Kanye West dropped his last good album, his last great album? Let's put respect on it. The Life of Pablo. Do you remember when he did that huge event and it was like a fashion show, and that's how Lil Yachty got discovered? That's such an iconic moment in history. And one day we should do a whole podcast just talking about that release party and how it's impacted hip hop today. Cause it really did. Hip hop, fashion, XYZ. So many things happened that day. And also there's so much aftermath that came from that. That's like interesting to think about. Wow, this is what it looked like during the event, but then it goes on to be XYZ. But anyway, when I saw him fucking wearing that fucking like raccoon hat and he was jumping with Kanye to fucking Beautiful Morning, you're the sun of my morning, babe, nothing don't want it, that song, you're like, that's the Kid Cudi I love. And you're like, how can we get back to that? And then Kanye's like, oh, keep working with me, and they fucking keep making songs together. And I think that was like Kanye's brilliance, was to like be like, yo, Cudi, I know you want to try all this other shit. Look at me, I'm always trying other shit. But you should always make sure it ties back to like what you do best. You know what I mean? And that's what I think happened on Kids See Ghost. It was like, let's explore, fuck yeah, but like, let's still, you know, don't completely change yourself. The same way that The Weeknd, even though he's going into pop music, he still has his fundamentals with him, you know? Kid Cudi always felt like he was trying to just erase everything in the past and go to something else. And you should always just keep the fundamentals, but do something else. And I think that's what he's able to successfully do in Man in the Moon. He's able to not only pay homage to his original Man in the Moon series, but he's also able to kind of adapt the newer sound that he wants to try. There's definitely a lot of like instrumentation in here that wouldn't be brought in by anybody else but Cudi, right? Like the fucking the House of the Rising Sun sample on fucking what's the song he wrote about his mom's? Somebody's Boy, Elsie's Baby Boy. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't be brought in by anybody else. Maybe fucking Juice WRLD, who was fucking Kid Cudi's like offspring. You know what I mean? Like Kid Cudi, no Kid Cudi, no Juice WRLD. Let's just be honest. But the cool thing too is that Kid Cudi is also able to, almost like he's either returning the favor or showing him how to perfect the sound. He's actually doing a lot of stuff that sounds like Travis Scott too. So it's cool when like it's either the student becomes the teacher and now fucking Kid Cudi's like inspired by fucking Travis Scott and wants to do stuff like him, or if Kid Cudi is like fucking paying tribute to fucking Travis Scott to be like, dude, thanks for being like, for continuing my genre. Let me fucking add your elements to it too, to show like, hey, you know, we're in this genre, like we built this shit together. Either way, it sounds fucking awesome. And like, you could tell Travis Scott's sound is so much like not derivative, but it was so much influenced by Kid Cudi, because Kid Cudi sounds completely natural over those beats. You know what I mean? And the cool thing too is like his lyrical content, while it's still, you know, similar, he's also like showing some growth, you know what I mean? Because he's like talking about how he was like not in a good place and how he's learning how to love himself, which I think that's the best song in this album, is a song that he has with Phoebe Bridgers on this song, fucking Loving Me. That song is so good. And I would have never thought that I'd get a Kid Cudi and Phoebe Bridgers song together, let alone it be good. You know what I mean? And it's the best song on the track, on the album. And Kid Cudi's verse isn't worse than Phoebe Bridgers. Imagine getting bodied on a song by Phoebe Bridgers.
I know,
like,
right?
imagine, like, how would you live with yourself as a rapper, guy? But it's so good. Like, she adds to the song beautifully. Now, there's also songs where it doesn't sound like Cudi at all. But I could tell, you could tell just Cudi was like almost like paying homage or like showing appreciation to the younger generation, which not a lot of like rappers do. You know what I mean? Rappers always like, I'm the fuck, like they're very self-centered, and they oftentimes they try not to portray that they're fans of music. Like being a fan is almost like a diss to rappers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, like, dog, it shouldn't be. Like, yeah, like the first and foremost, I'm a fan. That's why I love Tyler so much, because he's so open about how much he like is a fan of Pharrell and a fan, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But fucking Kid Cudi does a song called Show Out, which is a fucking UK drill song that has Skepta on it, so he's paying homage to Skepta. They're like, bruh, UK drill, I fucking see y'all. Which coming from Kid Cudi is huge. And then he has Pop Smoke on that song. So he also says like the young bulls that are adapting this, I fucking see y'all. And of course, like, it's nice to get a posthumous verse from Pop Smoke and stuff like that, but it's not like Pop Smoke wouldn't have done it if he was still alive. It's Cudi. You feel me? So there's some bad songs. I think Rockstar Nights with Trippie Redd is like a waste of space. But again, I think Kid Cudi is just paying homage to the new fucking rappers that are inspired by him. And for the kids, like, I like the message, but it was just kind of corny. But other than that, I think the album's a bit long, but that's what you should expect for Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon. He always breaks up his Man on the Moon albums in phases. Like there's in acts. There's always Act 1, and there's like 3 songs in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. So it's like you're supposed to kind of break it up. So I listen to Act today, listen to Act tomorrow, listen to Act, and then eventually I find myself just listening to the whole album. I'm like, wow, I listened to 18 songs, 58 minutes. That's long for a hip hop album. But Kid Cudi could do it, man. I am very happy to say that this album is fucking great. And hopefully Kid Cudi could keep doing more dope stuff, because he's definitely had a rough go of it the past 6-7 years. People forget that he created a lot of what hip hop is today, and Kid Cudi deserves so much more credit than we actually give him. But yeah, love it. Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen. It's my number 5.
Yeah. I mean, that's on my list. It's pretty good.
Hell yeah.
Okay, number 5. I was about to skip again.
Oh my god.
With my number 5, it is an album that I gotta say, it's probably the album that I was most critical of this year. That's, I think, because of its, previous albums being like one of my favorite albums of all time. And just like knowing how talented this person is. He does a lot, he's a very busy person. But that album is 3:15:20 by Childish Gambino.
Hell yeah.
And it's funny, I thought this was gonna be lower in my list, but I couldn't put it any lower, and I couldn't put it any higher. Because like at the end of the day, this is a solid album. And a lot of the criticism I have for it, I think it is because of like coming off the backs of because the internet and Awaken My Love, and especially after This Is America.
This is
for
like, sure.
Sometimes I'm thinking whether like I want to make a playlist where I just insert This Is America there and see if it just works in the album. Because I feel like it can.
It probably will. Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Because if he has like Summer's on there, you know what I mean, and I think those it feels like Summer and This Is America fit to me,
Yeah, and to me, I think that's just I don't know. It's a weird reason, maybe, but I feel like when I was expecting the album, even if we got what we got, but like he just chose to add This America there, I think it would have changed the way I feel about the album. Because at the end of the day, like I'm not needing for there to be a concept in the album
Yeah.
or for things to exactly tie thematically, at all. But I don't know, man. I think he just, for, at least for me as a fan, he had the missed opportunity to add it in there, and
Yeah.
like that's a minor gripe because, like I said, I'm gonna make a playlist where I just add that on.
Yeah.
That's something I could like tailor to my own liking. Yet I don't know. To me, that's just the one gripe I have, and it took a big chunk out of the score for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you do listen to the album, there you find so many gems. Like the man, it's so hard to know the names. But Feels Like Summer, first of all, is a song that grew with me, especially after the album came out.
Yeah.
And I love that song. And now that I know what it means, it's about global warming and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I love it even more, and how he's able to add meaning or themes to a song, even when he's not like so outward about it,
Yeah.
but he's also not being too smart about it. He's just like, I think as far as lyricism, that's why I ended up like over time, or like as far as this album goes, my favorite is Awaken My Love.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because it's like the way it's written feels more mature in a way where like a lot of the like unnecessary things feel like it's cut out. He didn't need to like, over explain something
Mm-hmm.
with many words. It's lesser words.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like This Is America comes in again, where like he explains something with lesser words, I feel like.
Yeah.
And that's where he was going towards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the psychedelic psilocybin song,
Yeah.
one of my favorites when I first heard that, it's always on repeat,
Hell yeah.
To be beautiful
Is to be haunted.
Haunted.
1910.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's weird how like I'm so conflicted where like I love almost every single song
Yeah.
and still I feel like I can't put it any higher than 5, but I also can't put it any lower.
That's a respectable ass spot for an
Yeah.
album. So, yeah, man, we definitely talked about this during the mid year too, and yeah, I'm not gonna say much more than we already said, but I'll put a pin on it because I'm gonna talk about this. Awesome. How you feeling, man? We're in the top 4. We're in the
Yeah.
final stretch here. Oh man. So my number 4 this year was an album that came out. By the way, now that we're in 4 through 1, these are albums that were not phases of quarantine for me. These 4 albums are always on. They're always on, no matter what. I can't get over these albums. But this one, God, I was supposed to see them in March, and it didn't have like lockdown happened 4 days before I was supposed to see them. It was devastating. I've always liked this band though. The first album I heard from them, I was referred to them by Richard. Do you remember Richard Romero? We were playing in a band together at a time, and well, actually, I think this was a little bit later, but he showed me this band when I was still working at Payless. And I just kept playing it at the store, dog. And then after that, they put another album out a couple years ago, which was amazing. But this album, at first, I was a bit disappointed because the lead single that came out with it was so instantly catchy, and it was so great. But then the rest of the songs had to grow on me, and once they did, I just can't get enough. And like I've definitely lately been like on a 70s tip because I've always been a huge fan of like the 60s, the 80s, the 90s. The 70s were always something that I thought were like more like mainstream or corny and stuff like that. But I always liked bands from there. I mean, even like folk artists from there. Like I'm a huge Carole King fan. I think fucking Tapestry is a top 5 album of all time. You know what I mean? Things like that. So once tennis kind of shifted over to this more 70s sound, I feel like I've liked them even more because of like how much I love Carole King and fucking conditionally yours, or no, sorry, god damn it, what was the album that they put out most recently before this? Because conditionally yours is their first one. Oh my god, I'm tripping right now. But the second album that has My Emotions is Blinding, that's like a Carole King song, you know what I mean? And so I started. Sorry.
No, I was looking at
Oh,
their album.
Ritual and Repeat is. Oh, actually, yeah, it's actually Conditionally Yours actually, because Ritual and Repeat was their first album, so I was right the first time. It's Conditionally Yours. Yeah, but once they moved to the 70s sound, I think I like them even more because they always wrote really interesting pop songs and they have a crazy dynamic as their husband and wife. It's always been interesting, but when they moved to like their 70s sound, they've been able to explore it a little bit more. Like the song Runner is definitely more like the lead single from this album is like more of like biblical references, but it's also like has like nuanced parallels about them meeting and falling in love and stuff. So it's just like a really interesting dichotomy between them. But yeah, Runner is a immediately catchy song, and the music video is hilarious because she looks like she's like Bob Ross or some shit in the music video. But the rest of the songs, like Need Your Love, is a fucking great song, and there's like a crazy tempo change that happens in that song multiple times. The drum beat is crazy, but it's still like, again, Carole King pianos over it. Fucking the vocals over it is very like 70s folk rock singer. But then they also have more like stripped down, almost like 80s fucking Casio tone beat type songs for How to Forgive. They still have their really like Fleetwood Mac-esque, like really drenched reverb drenched ballads, like fucking I'll Haunt You at the beginning of the album. So they just like touch on so many various like different kind of sounds that came out of that era, like late 60s, even early 80s. Like that kind of era, they're able to draw and capture from there, but also write really interesting, more thought-provoking lyrics. Like if a band from the 70s would actually go there. You know what I mean? That's how I would say that those lyrics are. But yeah, and also their just aesthetic is cool as fuck. Like all of their videos, they make it look like it was shot in like the 80s. You know what I mean? And the way they dress, and it's really just like it's like a time capsule. It's like they traveled time and came to fucking 2020 and they were just college students in Denver. You know what I mean? But yeah, Swimmer's a great album. I'm bummed I wasn't able to see them in March. They have the best music videos, so definitely watch them. During the quarantine, they did like this live stream where they just like fucking played a set at a stage that they rented and stuff, and it was called In the Void. And it was just like so shot like it was like in the like late 70s, early 80s. It could have been like a stream from Live Aid for all I care. But yeah, fucking Swimmer, great album. I love Tennis.
I'll check it out. Because I do like My Emotions.
They're blinding. Is it?
Blinding.
Yeah, man.
What is that called?
My Emotions Are Blinding.
My Emotions Are Blinding. Yeah. No, I do like Tennis. I need to just sit down and listen to their album, man. 'Cause I feel like those things where like I definitely like him. It just I need to sit down and make a commitment to do so.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're gonna commit to any of their albums, this is the one because it's their most like concise. You know what I mean?
Concise. Okay.
It's like 9 songs, 30 minutes. And but they put out a follow-up song to that, which is just a fucking cover of Superstar by the Carpenters. You know, it's like, don't you remember you told me you love me, baby. So like they consider that the 10th song of Swimmer. So, you know what I mean? Check it out, man. Tennis is amazing. Okay. Also, the sport is cool. I like Anna Kournikova. Shoddy.
So for my number 4 is RTJ4.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you've talked about them earlier. Definitely like a solid duo.
Mm-hmm.
They're like a match made in heaven.
Facts.
You know, like perfect pair. And each album they release, like I didn't listen to them until actually like RTJ 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I went back to their back catalog, which I barely do now. But for them, I did. You know, just because like RTJ 3 was so awesome when I first heard it. It's like, wow, this is new. This is brand new.
Yeah.
Yet I know LP and Killer Mike, and I've always thought they were cool. The really cool rappers I never listened to. You know, like
Yeah, right.
I just know about them.
Just like Mr. Motherfucking Esquire for me. I know he's
Yeah.
cool. I only know Hazar remix. I'm sorry.
Um, but like I just think that RTJ is the perfect mix of like being political, yet not being boring.
Right.
You know, not trying to teach you. I feel like it just like kind of like emphasizing what people are already feeling.
Yeah.
And when RTJ 4 came out, it's like the perfect time because we were all in lockdown
Yep.
and a lot of protest was happening. And when what is it, the Ooh La La, when that
Ooh
first came
la
out,
la wee wee.
yeah. And then when the music video came out, that was just like the perfect thing to see. Where
They're
like
just burning
it
money, dog. It's so
burning
good.
money, yeah, and it just felt more like it sets the fire in you, you know,
Yeah.
especially if you're like fed up with the government and stuff
Facts.
like that.
Also, I need
Um,
to emphasize again, Killer Mike wearing a Joy Division fucking patch on his vinyl,
yeah,
on his fucking what was it, denim jacket? Come on,
mhm. And yeah, like LP is just an amazing producer,
so
and
good.
like I've never heard of such like hard beats that sound futuristic like this, and still, and then the way they rap over it is just like perfect over it. You know,
Yeah,
how they go back and forth, and apparently the way they write their songs. So a lot of times, like when they're writing, and then someone kind of like runs out of, you know, can't think of anything. Someone else jumps in, and that's why they have that back and forth.
right.
Which I like. You know, if you're gonna be in a duo together,
Yeah,
I like that they chose that instead of like, oh, you get like this many verses, and you know, like
yeah,
they feel more of or like a artist than
yeah,
just like two separate heads. And that way they're able to make their songs much more unified. I think,
yeah,
you know,
totally.
compared to like if you're like, oh, okay, you write your verse, I write this verse, and then they're like one person's talking about like losing a friend, and the other person is talking about how broken up, you know,
Yeah.
with.
Whoa.
But
Are those actual verses from the Wave Gang album you're talking about?
no. That's actually that example was actually not even like a bad example because you gave that example when you're talking about Anderson .Paak and Mac Miller.
Oh shit, you're right. Huh. I just
Yeah,
keep
so
on
it's not a bad
losing
thing.
you. Yeah, I feel you.
Mhm.
I feel you.
It's not a bad thing, but I feel like for um, Killer Mike and LP, like that's a rare moment that we get to see. I feel like it's not many rappers do that,
Not at all.
you know, and
No.
that's like why not actually? Like I think
Facts.
except for the Beastie Boys,
Yeah, and that
you know.
and that's done its thing. Yeah.
um, the other thing that surprises me about RTJ is like, I feel like they're the group that's supposed to sound the same every single time in concept and the way how their beat even sounds. I feel like I should be fed up with their album after a certain point,
Right.
and I should say like, man, it just sounds like the same old shit,
Right.
but it doesn't.
No.
Even though I feel like you know how sometimes Block Party you feel like you hear a song from them and the other one's like, oh, that sounds like they just used the other song as a prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes RTJ albums feel like the ones that came is kind of like a prototype. They still share the same sound.
Yeah.
You could take any song from any album, mix them up, and it still feels like it could be still in the same album.
Right.
But yeah, I don't run into the problem where I'm listening to them. It's like, man, this is like too much or like too long, you know?
Yeah. For sure.
But, you know. But yeah, I mean, highlights of the song, of course, is Just. walking in the snow. And I just also like part of me really liked them for the fact that they would like, or LP at least would sample a Gang of Four song,
Yeah, dude, that
you
is
know, and
cool
make
as
it
fuck.
work,
Yeah,
make it work.
and to
Cause
make it
like,
work.
cause I know another artist who would sample like let's say a Block Party, and it was like, no, that didn't sound good,
Yeah, for
you know.
real. Agreed.
Yeah, but
Shouts
yeah,
out
that's
Killer
my
Mike and
pick.
LP, man. Those guys are fucking. And the coolest thing in the world too is that like these guys are just like indie dads that like
Yeah,
became famous and they're like, oh, dope. I'm still a dad. You know what I mean? Like,
I
it's like-
know it's like dope, but like I'd have to like I'd have to call it quits at 10 p.m.
yeah, yeah, like
I can't
dope.
play a show after that.
Yeah, like dude, I'm hell yeah, I'm mainstream now, but I gotta pick my kids up. So I love Run the Jewels, man. They're the best.
Their headlining show starts at 8. You know,
Yeah, it's just like openers at 5. You're like, I will never take that gig. Sick.
doors open after class. You know, after school.
Love it.
But yeah,
Sick.
number 4.
So number 3 is also an album you already talked about. We're not gonna spend too much time on this, but my number 3 is 3:15:20 by Childish Gambino. Similar placements. I also earlier you were talking about how This Is America should have been in there. I 100% agree. That should have been in there. If This Is America was in there, this album would be probably comparable to Awaken My Love. This is also
Yeah.
another album that had that sweetener, the Ariana Grande sweetener problem, where there isn't like, the songs that I think is repeatable is because I'm like a nerd when it comes to this shit, but it's not like widely accessible like how Awaken My Love, even though it was really just one song. Redbone was so fucking undeniable that like
Yeah.
that you'll find a reason to listen to Awaken My Love. You know what I mean? Because the internet had so many of those songs that like you will randomly put on 3005, just be like, remember this song? And everybody's like, hell yeah. And then you realize, wait, this also had this.
Yeah.
So then you're like, okay, that's why I stick with this album. 3:15:20 makes you work a little harder for that. You know what I mean? Because even 12:38, which is probably the most widely acclaimed song from this album, it's also 5 minutes and there isn't a chorus, and 21 Savage doesn't come in until the 4th minute. You know what I mean? So it's like,
21.
you know what I mean? And it's like, but everything happening is amazing, but it's just not so outwardly captivating that you'll put it all on all the time, unless you're like us and you just like are down to listen to a 5-minute song on repeat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one that there's 2 of them to me that come close though, and I think this just falls on how late they are in the track listing that people might have given up, and then 2, the lack of visuals for it, because I definitely think how great Donald Glover is at visuals and directing, and look at This Is America. It's probably the best music video of all time. Like, could you think of another music video that's better technically, aesthetically, and socially?
No.
Thriller?
No, not at all.
Maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
But it doesn't have that thing that like the other thing that This America had is that shock factor.
yeah, that's also
That's not the message as well, you know. That's just like
word.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But if with Donald Glover's mind, if he would have done a visual for, I think this, God, the song titles are so fucking. And that's another thing too. It's kind of obtuse because like it's almost like too artsy for its own good. You know what I mean? What song is it? Oh, 3531. That song, if Bino would have fucking put his This Is America hat on and done a music video for that song, which is, again, like, it's the more indie song. It sounds like a fucking child's fucking chant. Little foot, big foot, get out to it. I'm a and it's supposed to be annoying, and it's, like, so happy, but if you're listening to the fucking message, he's fucking talking about how, like, young kids from lower income communities are lured into fucking selling drugs and going into gangs. by older people who find ways to entice them into that lifestyle. So you have this fucking little foot, big foot, get out the way. I'ma show you how to move this, yeah. And you fucking take that concept and make a video out of it of Childish Gambino or something where it's like they're fucking like recruiting kids and teaching them how to be drug dealers, and how he ties that socially to like the fucking U.S. society that fucking like luring kids into becoming soldiers and policemen and all that stuff. He could have still done a humongous visual statement, and that song is so catchy that it would have gone. That would have been like a #1 song. Little foot, big foot, get out the way. That is fucking catchy as shit. There's no way that America would have ignored this if he didn't just live stream his album once on a website. And then after that, put it on Spotify with names that you could never remember, because who the fuck is going to remember? Dude, put on 3531. I love that song, and I listen to that song all the time. I still have to look what the fuck that song is called. If he wasn't so obtuse with it, that would have been another This Is America. I'm fucking putting my stamp on, I swear to God, because white people will love that song. You know what I mean? Black people will understand that song. You know what I'm saying? And then you put a visual masterpiece to it, which he is 1000% capable of doing. And that would have been another This Is America. We'd be talking about fucking this album being his best album. If This Is America is on that, if 3531 did what it was supposed to do, and then you have fucking 1910, if that would have been just one of your low-key music videos like fucking Sober was, you know what I mean? That could have been your Sober, you know what I mean? Because that song is a fucking Prince song with Andre 3000 on vocals. You know what I'm saying? Like, that song is incredible. And then, of course, you could put out the video for the song you got with Ariana Grande, because everybody loves Ariana. I love Ariana Grande. This album could have been so much more accessible, and people would have loved it more if Bino would have like made people work less for it. However, the reason why I still rank it at #3 is, why the fuck does he have to do that? You know what I mean? It should also be on us as consumers to fucking like really dig into one of your favorite artists' art. You know what I mean? So like, I think you and I are able to rank this pretty high because we are willing to put at least somewhat of an effort in, you know? And if somebody would have given the effort that Bino wanted you to put in, it would probably be up there with Awaken My Love. It's still, you could never say it'll top Awaken My Love, because you can't say that anybody could top their best album. You know what I mean? You can't say To Pimp a Butterfly. Even though I prefer, because the internet, Awaken My Love is his best album. Just because I prefer Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly is his best album. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, like, I think a lot of people this album's going under the radar for some people because of how obtuse it is. I think this album is being ranked lower than it should be by people like me and you, because it's a bit more obtuse than it should be. And again, not putting This Is America on there was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But other than that, if you actually listen to the music, it's actually it holds up. Bino doesn't put out bad music, dog. He doesn't put out bad anything. The worst thing he's ever put out is either his stand-up or solo. Like, that's the only thing he's ever put out that's bad, dog. So that's it. I mean, there's not much else to say. We already talked about it all. That's my point. I don't know if you have anything to add with that.
Yeah, I guess that the thing is, like, when I first listened to this album, as like when it was streamed that once, I was amazed by the album. I was like, I love this. Like, like throughout the whole thing, there was not one song I didn't like. It wasn't until the album was done, I was just like, feel a little bit empty.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing. Like, but I feel like you're right. You nailed it in the head. We're like, I think even just putting titles to these songs,
yeah, man,
even like, simple visual, would have like, I don't know. It's weird because like when we're talking about music, it's supposed to be about the sound, but obviously, like I feel like we're kind of admitting there's a little bit more to that.
Yeah,
you know, it's like it's the sound, it's the whole package, it's the window to the artist, and it's almost like when I got this, it's like Donald Glover didn't even want to really release it. Or he just wanted to like put it out there and not even be heard and
Tick
just
the
move on from
box, right?
yeah. He's just like, man, I've been sitting on these. I don't like maybe to him it's like it's not even like I don't even want to use it to follow up like This America or
Yeah.
Awaken My Love. Let's just release it as low key as possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like a flex on its own that he's like, I'm so busy doing Atlanta and fucking doing all this
yeah.
other shit. Like, here, fine, here's an album. You know what I mean? Like,
But I guess what we're missing too though is it did come out this year
yeah,
in March.
yeah,
So maybe like when it was streamed, it was out of nowhere. So maybe it is just like he looked. It's like you know what, COVID's gonna fuck shit up.
that's
Maybe
true.
that's why he can't like he's
Fully,
already toured most of these like songs. I know that. So
I I would say though, because I remember we talked about this during the mid year. I still think maybe this is not his real album though, because like
yeah,
it's not consistent with his artistic mind that he wouldn't do anything other than put these songs out. You know what I mean? Like Bino's the kind of guy
yeah,
that I feel like he wouldn't do anything half-assed, you know? So like
yeah.
maybe this is just like a precursor to something, and I'm still holding on hope for that.
I hope so.
Because if
I
this
hope
is a precursor, shit.
I feel like yes and no. Like, because at the same time, I feel like Beano is at one point trying to leave the Beano name
Yeah, I always
to
thought that
Donald
was just
Glover.
like, yeah, I always thought that was like a stunt though, right? Like he's still gonna
Was
make
it?
music. I mean,
Well,
no rapper ever retires. Let's just that doesn't happen.
yeah.
Rappers don't retire
But see, I thought he was gonna retire, but now I feel like what I'm understanding is he's gonna retire the Beano name and be Donald Glover, whether he's rapping.
or singing. Yeah, that's what I think. That's why. Yeah, that's why I think it's. That's why I thought the whole thing was capped before because I was like, oh, he's just gonna keep going as Donald Glover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like the same way I was like, oh, Jay-Z retired, then he unretired. You know what I mean, Puff Daddy is P Diddy, and now he's Puff Daddy again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all the same thing. Like, so, the only person that's ever like lived up to it is. Do you remember fucking Hundreds? Do you remember that rapper? His name was
No.
Hundreds. He was on fucking God, what's that fucking record label that used to have Danny Brown and shit like that? Oh my god! But he was a rapper and he was dope. He was like his Oakland dude. He used to rap like he was like this Oakland player dude. You know what I mean? He had a song called 10 Freaky Hoes, and like one of the verses he's talking about like he cut this bitch off because she stole his conditioner for his long ass hair and shit. And then he was like, dude, I'm no longer fucking disrespecting women like this. I'm gonna be an R&B singer from now on, and I'm not Hundreds. I'm Cosico. And he's never done like, oh, let me do one more song as Hundreds. No, it's been, and he's only doing R&B now. So it's
Nice.
like. I've never seen anybody actually fully live up to that shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's Cap. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
Childish Gambino is done. But I'm Donald Glover. Here's another Childish Gambino album. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my number 3.
It's gonna be Childish Gambino by Donald Glover.
Presented by
Yeah.
D Glover Productions, Beano Gang.
But yeah. So my number 3 is from a band that I've actually been in love with for the longest time. But they went on like they released like basically one of their best albums a while ago, and then followed up with another great album. It's also like considered to be one of their best before they went on hiatus. For at least 8 years. And then when they came back, I was really anticipating this album, but I don't think it's like the worst album that they put out, or like such a bad album compared to like other music. It still didn't feel like them when they returned, or it just didn't feel the same. But now with what they're doing, I feel like they're inspired again, and they're on the right track. And I already think you know who I'm talking about. So this album is called Song Machine Season 1, Strange Times by Gorillaz.
Yep.
So, like I said, I've been in love with this band for the longest time. Part of it is because the whole visual aspect, they're kind of like philosophy behind it, and just the music. I've been just like really influenced by their music, in love with their music, because they take from everywhere, any genre, put it together, and at the same time tell this kind of like meta story about, because they're a virtual band, um, and because of all this like genres being pulled together, it does feel cohesive as a narrative, because it's post-apocalypse, and
Yeah.
it's natural that like a lot of what's left is just like culture,
Word.
the way
Oh, hold on.
it
King Kong Fetty
oh, fuck.
said, "Damn, you guys still up? I'm leaving for work right now." King Kong
Oh,
Fetty,
damn.
bro, we're doing the top 20 albums of the year.
Mhm.
So we've been on for 4 hours, dog. I gotta take a piss too, but this is getting rough.
It's almost done.
Hope you're doing good,
uh,
man. Merry Christmas to
yeah,
you, dog.
have fun at work.
Sorry,
um
Sorry, Dark Revelo. Continue.
oh
Sir.
no, it's okay. Yeah, so like it just narratively it just works, and like I have ended up appreciating more different types of variety of music because of them. Because in one song they could have like Damon Albarn from Blur,
Mm-hmm.
have like kind of like a folky sound, and then all of a sudden it turns into like electronic, or out of nowhere they'll pull in like Asian instruments
Mm-hmm.
or the Syrian orchestra, just like. And Damon Albarn being a producer, I feel like he has a lot of connections, and he's
Right.
just getting a bunch of different people. They travel to different countries just to get, like I said, like a Syrian orchestra, right?
Right.
So
Appreciate you,
like,
King Kong Fetty. Love you, man.
hey, I love you too. All right, but just the scope of their music, I feel like encompasses so much. It encompasses the visual arts as well.
Yeah.
Um, and their last albums have really like disappointed me because it just didn't seem like them. It seemed lazy, where usually they add like instrumentations and electronics together. Uh, the Humans was just, they call it like a post-apocalyptic dance mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
And there's highlights and there's songs. It's just not the height of their creativity.
Right.
Now with the song machine, they just feel more inspired. I like how it's like a monthly thing,
Mm-hmm.
so it built even more hype around this album. Because we didn't know what it is.
Uh-huh.
And then the first song that came out is with Slow Tie,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. This gives me the sort of like classic beach era again.
Right.
And then they go with Desolé, and I was like, wow, okay, that sounds like it's pulled from Demon Days,
Mm-hmm.
And then they just kept going, and then they're adding more people who have been like, my heroes, and I've been fans of since high school.
Yeah.
Robert Smith from The Cure,
Yep.
and like even if that song is weird, like I still love it.
Hell
Like
yeah. Robert Smith's
uh,
on it.
yeah, exactly. And like Peter Hook, they
Yeah.
made one song
From
together. It sounds like New Order.
New Order. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess what I like is, one, it sounds like Gorillaz, even though each song that they're making feels like it's heavily influenced by the what do you call that? The artists that they're bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like when they brought in like the artists from Humans, I feel like a lot of that is like, oh, just random new artists that I get to work with. While with Strange Times, I feel like they're more informed, that they actually like listen to these people, and they know the strengths and the kind of songs they want to make with these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Gorillas have always been the type that embraces progress and change, and I think with COVID and everything, like, and even how the way albums work, how now it's episodic to
Yeah.
lead up to the full album.
Right.
Like, I think they've always been at the forefront of like both art, visual, as far as music and visual, as well as the industry.
Yeah.
Where I think they're one of the first people who, first of all, technically it's not a real band,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the first people who relied heavily more on sponsors than like
Yep.
streaming or sales. So
That's a fact.
great album, great album.
I haven't listened, so that I knew this album was going to be on your list because I listened to a few songs and I'm like, this is fire. But I just couldn't listened to the whole thing yet for some reason. I would like not come back to it, but I think that's just again like I'm still learning how to gorillas again. You know what I mean? So, but I the songs I have heard are dope. I even liked Humans a bit too. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Yeah, I figured it was gonna be on your list. I didn't think it was gonna be this high, but hell yeah.
Well, I was gonna say too, like as far as listening to this album, I wouldn't even say that like I listened to it as an album fully.
Mm-hmm.
The whole experience of just the whole year, a new song comes out. It's like I don't know. It's like that's almost like the YouTube model, you know?
Right.
Like that. So like I felt like I didn't have to like digest the album fully. It's just that every month it's like, oh, I get to listen to this song as much as I want to, you know? Like
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, hell yeah, man. We're on to our top 2. My number 2 is one that you've already talked about, but it's an album that doesn't make you necessarily think too critically because there's not a lot of cutting edge themes. So like thematically, it isn't so thought provoking, but instrumentally, melodically. But even some songs do have some lyrical significance, especially when I got obsessed with one of the songs and what was going on at the time, and with me personally as well. But this is "I Feel Alive" by Tops. I'm obsessed with this album. Like I listened to this album I've listened to this full album more than any album on this list. My number 1. I don't listen to the full album to as much as I listen to the full album of I Feel Alive, but there's like 6 songs on the first album that I've listened to way more than I've listened to any other song this year, hands down. So that was the big differentiator there. But yeah, I Feel Alive by Tops is not a long album, but it's also not short, so it doesn't feel like you're getting like just like an EP or anything like that. It's 11 songs, 35 minutes. And while there's definitely a consistent sound, and Tops has a sound, I feel like there's also like 2 phases of Tops, right? They have their really synth-based songs, like Direct Sunlight, fucking Ballads and Sad Movies, fucking Takedown, fucking Looking to Remember, which is personally my favorite song in the whole fucking album, and Too Much, which is also an okay, fine, whatever. These songs are like the synth pop, dream pop phase of Tops. But then they have their like Blondie, Voxtrot, guitar driven songs like I Feel Alive, Pirouette, fucking Colder and Closer, Witching Hour. You know what I mean? These songs are fucking like on paper should sound very different, like in sound, but they don't. You know what I mean? Like it all works together in the album, even if like the foundations of these 2 different kind of phases seem very different. And I think it's because, again, we talked about this earlier, but like clearly they write together because it feels like all the instrumentation is like carefully placed in every single part of the song. The pre-chorus, there's what their syncopation is slightly different than on the fucking when they come back in from the chorus into that little fucking break, right? Like everything is like bespoke, right? It doesn't feel like the singer is just placing their vocals over something that's already done. So that's why I think they could kind of jump between the 2 sounds kind of like seamlessly. My favorite song, I mean, I can't even say a favorite song really, because like I can't say like standout songs because I think 1 through 11 are non-skippable. There's no songs to skip. You know what I mean? But my favorite song is Looking to Remember. Definitely more of their like more of a synth song than it is guitar, and it's definitely one of their like more low tempo songs out of all of them. But the thing that makes it amazing is just like the peaks and valleys of the song and how every instrument is placed carefully, like the different, like there's that fucking like the just like your standard Rhodes sound that's happening, that's perfectly placed in all the little pieces that it needs to be at the end of each fucking bar or the end of each phrase, because the guitars are so minimal in that song and the bass stays out of the way. Sometimes your bass line is like so driving that you're missing little twinkles coming from other fucking like instruments. And then where the flutes are placed is perfect too, because then the drums also pick up. So just like everything is perfect in terms of like where everything's placed in the composition. But I think the lyrical content really it spoke to me because like I really, really, really got into this album in June. So obviously all the George Floyd things were happening. And I feel like the main motif of Looking to Remember is you deciding who you want to be. You know what I mean? And that just like, it was just a very pivotal point in my life and a pivotal point, and I think in this society's life, that we're at the point in time where we're all kind of just, we need to decide what we're going to be moving forward. And so many songs that say like, you decide what you want to be, there's like a slant to it, right? They're almost nudging you into being a certain way. I think the beauty of this song is that it's more of this asking the question versus telling you what to do. And there's not enough songs that do that. A lot of songs are tied to a specific way of thought, good or bad. Not a lot of songs that are just meant to provoke thought. And so, and again, it's just like subtle. I'm always more inclined to like go with subtlety than I am with like grandiose statements. So I think that's the reason why that song stuck with me so much. If you look, you know how like Spotify does that wrap up of like all the top songs. This song was number 1 for me, and it wasn't even close. Isn't that crazy? Like, it wasn't even close. The next song is off of Color. Oh God, off of my number 1 album, and like it wasn't even close. Like the single one song I've listened to the most is Looking to Remember by Tops. But then, like, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th is all Color. Oh, I almost did it again. But, yeah, man, this album's awesome. We already talked about it a ton earlier, but, you know, this is just one of those albums that I wasn't looking for this. I wasn't into Tops before this. But then how good this album is made me go back and just make me love it. They're fucking, like... Oh, they were on Matador. You know what I mean? Of course this band's dope. They're on Matador. They're on Rough Trade. So they were like label mates 2 times with like fucking Camera Obscura and Bone Sebastian. So of course, you know what I mean? But the way I found out about this band was Guidale, our cousin, me and obviously being Dark Ruffalo, our cousin, our older cousin, part of bands, really taught us how to make music in general. You know what I mean? And how to consume music too. He has been helping me mix my new album, and when I sent him one of my songs, he was like, "Hey man, this really sounds like one of my favorite bands right now." And I was like, "Oh cool, who is it?" And he's like, "Dude, this is like my favorite album this year." And he sent me this album, and I was like, "Holy fuck!" And I don't like this band just because he compared it to one of my songs. This band, I don't even think I sound like this band at all, and I'm just in love with it. I'm thankful Guidale put this album into my life, because I haven't stopped listening to it this year. And you could ask Dark Ruffalo here, I haven't stopped trying to make people listen to it. So, yeah, no, it's number 2. I Feel Alive by Tops.
Nice. Yeah, and honestly, I agree. It's a really good album. I do think it is an album I'm gonna keep going back to as well. Because, like, I don't know, it's a fun listen.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, even if there's, like, slow, sadder songs, it doesn't bum you out.
No.
Like, I like this song.
Yeah. I can handle this. Yeah.
But, yeah, we've talked about this band, I think, like, a little bit more than a lot of the bands on the list, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the one thing that we actually... No, yeah, we have other things on the same list, but I think that's the one that we actually rank pretty high together.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is someone you talked about, and you were right with your assessment, but it's Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers.
I know.
I always thought her last name was Bridges. I found out today. You as Bridgers. I never look at it
today.
Yeah, I've never looked at it and read it right.
Yeah,
my brain always fixed it to Bridges.
It's like the Bernstein Bears or whatever that we all forgot.
Yeah, But yeah, I didn't expect this album. I didn't expect that I was gonna like this album. Cause like a name like Phoebe Bridgers doesn't sound like, it just sounds like a regular white girl. It's like you're gonna be seeing country stuff.
Mhm.
That's what I thought. Um, and I feel like this is subliminally something that I remembered because I scroll a lot through like YouTube and stuff, and I think I haven't watched it, but I think Fantano reviewed it because I'm pretty sure I saw that album cover,
Mhm.
and I was just like, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be an artist to listen to. Is that like until it came back up on my Spotify, I saw that same album cover and checked it out. And when I put on the first like intro to the DVD thing,
Yeah.
I didn't expect it because it seemed more thematic
Mhm.
than what I was expecting. I was just expecting straight into like the sappy like country songs,
Yeah.
right? Um, but as it went on, like Garden Song,
So
like
good.
as soon as that went on, like it got me,
Yeah.
you know.
How does it? How
Um,
could it not? When she started talking about like, "Hey, I'm gonna move it," and when your skinhead neighbor disappears, you're just like, "Wait, what
yeah,
the fuck?" It's so fucking like idea. Do you remember that? Right? Like he writes like that, or like fucking who's the? Oh, I'm gonna sound awful for saying this. Who's the fucking indie guy from the early 2000s that like killed himself?
Elliot Smith.
Well, he got stabbed, right? Did it? Wasn't there another guy that just
I
killed
thought
himself?
he killed
Oh, did
himself.
he kill himself? Okay,
Yeah,
so maybe that's the one. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, because he was on drugs and or something.
yeah. Yeah. Brian
Yeah,
Eno
yeah,
too,
that's
though,
what
right?
it was.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah,
Brian
yeah.
Eno.
Yeah, Elliott Smith for sure.
Um,
Once I started reading about fucking Punisher, the song itself, I was like, oh god, okay, yeah.
oh, I didn't read anything. What do you mean?
So apparently, Punisher is a song about her being obsessed with Elliott Smith.
Oh,
Yeah, you
okay.
know how like it's talking about like it's probably for the best I'd never met you and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
yeah,
I mean, just listening to the songs, it seems like it's a lot of it's like a lot of longing for somebody who doesn't really return
yeah,
how she's feeling, or even if he does, it's almost like they're flawed,
yeah,
that they're not gonna end up together. It's always someone she's been wishing
yeah.
to be with.
It's a
But at the same time, she's like has her own personality. Like even if she's writing like a love song to this, it is still kind of like I feel like she has that sort of like self awareness, which is like, well, love's stupid kind of
yeah,
deal. Like I gotta focus on other things.
right.
Um, but she has a sense of humor that it's told in a way where it's just not like
Yeah,
oh,
right.
it's more like a play on words.
Yeah,
Cause like when he saw about like she saw about savior complex, or she
yeah,
had a savior complex. I think I thought that was funny how she like recognizes that about herself,
yeah,
and like it is relatable how like sometimes the reason why you are obsessed with someone is because you do feel like gonna be the person that like they need,
right.
or that will
Yeah.
save them.
Her sense of humor is so like like it's not like it's definitely like more subtle, but also like
Yeah,
kind of dark and hits too hard once it sinks. When like
yeah,
even on Halloween, she's like, like, these are just things you say when you're drunk and wearing a mask. I mean, like lines
yeah.
like that is just so sick.
And yeah, she had the other line where like the doctor put her hand over
On
my
her kid
liver.
or her
Said-
liver. Yeah,
yeah, she said my resentment's getting weaker or something like that.
and then she says she's not afraid of a little hard work.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid of hard work.
Yeah, man.
I get everything I want. It's like there's humor in it,
Yeah.
but it's also just very honest. And I feel like when she puts the humor in it, it feels like characters saying witty things.
Word.
Like a back and forth. And I just feel like after I heard that album, even when I heard Taylor Swift's album, and I was like, this is really good, especially for Taylor Swift. That like need though for music was filled by Phoebe Bridgers,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, if it might have been different if I heard Taylor Swift first.
Yeah.
I'm also just much more comfortable listening to someone that's not Taylor Swift. Because like I also see it like it almost like when I listened to this album, it painted a picture in my head of Phoebe's character
Mm-hmm.
as if she's like if this was a movie, she is that person who always wanted to be this like music star,
Yeah.
but she comes from like a small town,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and she's that person who's like everyone else is just gonna be stuck in that town,
Right.
and she's like her journey is that trying to become an artist. And I feel like if you're the viewer and you listen to her, it's like, yeah, she's really talented.
Mm-hmm.
Her way with lyrics is just natural and like not forced, and she's just talented, you know, or like she's almost like born for this.
Yeah.
But she's almost as if like in a way she's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
While Taylor Swift is just like I said, just like this like
Fucking
professional.
monster! Yeah.
Yeah, this is professional, while this other person is this amateur who just like should be well known.
Yeah.
You know, instrumentations. I like how, like you said, lush they are,
Mm-hmm.
and like even though there's a lot of reverb and the reverb and the lushness fills the space, there's always usually just a minimal amount of instrumentation.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing, like you were saying, it gets a little too kind of like folky and country, but I don't know, because I've heard other stuff like that I find corny. I maybe because I've been exposed to that when I heard her stuff. It's my least favorite song, but I still like her way of using, you know, putting a banjo there and kind of the Americana country-y, more like traditional folk style. Still worked for me. That's not my favorite part of the album. I think my favorite part is still like towards the beginning and the end, you know.
Yeah.
And she sounds more indie in certain parts
Yeah, like in
of the
Kyoto,
song.
Chinese Satellite, and I See You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my favorite line of this year still is like from her, which is like, you know, all the bad dreams that you hide, show me yours and I'll
Yeah.
show you mine. Yeah.
So good.
That's very like, I don't know, Death Cab for Cutie type of like
Yeah.
lyricism, you know.
For sure. My favorite like exalt to the world line is an ICU. It's definitely not as like fucking like poignant, because I have poignant lyrics coming for you in my number one. But
Okay.
it's definitely like more of just like, yeah, same energy. Where she's like, you know, in ICU, she's talking about how like she wasn't like feeling nothing back then. You know what I mean? But now she is. But like when she says like, I'm just like afraid every time I feel good that it's gonna be the last time I feel good.
Yeah.
I'm like, my God, you ain't gotta expose me like that. Ah,
But I would say this is one of those albums. I feel like most of these albums, except for like Gorillaz, which is like ongoing, I had a phase with them. I listened to them a lot, and still just thinking about that, I know exactly like, and I have gone back from time to time, but not like the same as when I was like obsessed with this album. It's still like looking back at it, or even just like knowing that this album exists. Like
Yeah.
I just know this is my number 2. You know.
yeah.
So.
I wish I would have listened to it back in June. I didn't listen to it until like August. That's like a whole summer of depression that could have that could have been my soundtrack to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, again, like there was no way I could in good fucking conscience. No, I couldn't have put Folklore at 9 and Punisher at 11. It wasn't gonna work for me. I wanted to put Punisher even higher, but it's just like I just didn't listen to it enough. But then after that, I have Man on the Moon at 5. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, man. I'm gonna change this list again. But
I know my list is gonna change too.
Yeah.
So.
awesome. Well, is
Oh,
it time for
shit.
number 1? I honestly have no idea what your number 1 is. I thought Phoebe Bridgers was gonna be your number 1. Now I have no idea. So But you know exactly what my number one is. No more pomp and circumstance. We talked about this in the mid-year special. But no matter how much time has passed, I still listen to this album more than any other fucking album. As recently as fucking 2 weeks ago, I listened to this album front to back and made Adam and James listen to it while we were all on Molly at fucking Tahoe. And the next morning, I did it again and posted about it. And this album is the best album to come out this year. If 2020 was a part of the last decade, it would have been part of the best albums of that decade. And it's fucking Soccer Mommies, The Color Theory. This album hasn't stopped being good, and it came out in February. So it's like a full last year of being the best fucking thing that's out. Why do you fucking put me through this pain, Sophie? My God. This album's fucking just the best album that came out this year. Not only does it have catchy ass songs that could easily get a casual fan, it also has like the deep cuts that are just like, you have to listen to the song 4 times before you love it. And every single... And this is probably saying something about me personally, but like, I don't know why. I just relate more to like fucking younger, like early 20s female singer-songwriters. I go through the same emotional roller coasters than they do. I relate to that so much more than like if fucking, I don't know, who's a fucking male guitar guy? Fucking Mumford and Sons? Like Mumford and the Sons? Like I don't relate to anything those motherfuckers write about. And I think they're cool, but like they sing about shit and they're just like fucking singing about like, I gotta fucking have a son and I'm just like, nah, dog, fuck that shit. But Sophie writes about, so I mean, Circle the Drain is obviously the biggest song from this album, but that song is literally a song about being sad and there's no reason to be fucking sad. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bruh, was that not entirely my energy like last year? I was like, dude, I'm bummed out that I'm bummed out. Because there's nothing to be bummed out about. You know what I mean? Like, how does that... I don't want to get too deep into the fucking actual things. Me and Cammy always jokes that this is like female manipulator music, the same way like the Smiths is like male manipulator music. Like, like it's the same kind of like lyrical content that will make someone into that. But for me, it's just like actually like, because again, like there's always like a grandiose reason for things, right? There's always like a big reason why this album exists. There's a big concept. And really, Color Theory is just like like exploring different colors and different feelings that come with that. You know what I mean? And a lot of the thematic, or a lot of the themes are quite similar, where it's just like not dealing with loss. You know what I mean? Or like little things that you lie to yourself about to make yourself cope instead of actually handling the problem. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Circle the Drain's the biggest song. Royal Screw Up is just like, listen to that song. It's so excruciating at first to listen to it. Like I had to listen to that song so many times for me to actually like fall in love with it, because it feels like you found some girl's fucking demo of her like singing her diary. You know what I mean? It's just like the first, for 3/4 of the song is just Soph with an acoustic guitar just being just so brutally honest about herself, but also like over critical of herself. The Night Swimming is just like this moment of like au revoir Simone, but with a guitar. Same deal like with Phoebe Bridgers, you know what I mean? That, and then it sounds like it should be on the Life is Strange soundtrack and shit. And then after that, she has Yellow is the Color of Her Eyes, which is my second favorite song on this album, but it might overtake Circle the Drain, because it's like her, you know, like Death Cab for Cutie had like I Will Possess Your Heart and Transatlantic.
Yeah.
They would have songs that are just 8 minutes long, and you're like, why is this 8 minutes long? Until you listen to the full 8 minutes instead of listening to the radio edit, and you're like, oh my god, it hits so much harder when you have to fucking like wait You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Transatlanticism, it's an 8-minute song, but when the end hits, you're just like, I was just bummed out for 7 minutes, and now this last minute, because you made me bummed out with the sad ass instrumental and the sad ass lyrics, but this last 30 minutes where it's all like fucking coming to a head, I am now bawling along with you, Ben Gibbard, you son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, you did it. You fucking did it. You know what I mean? And that's what Yellow is the Color of Her Eyes is. I think the song's like maybe like 6 minutes long. But the song is about how Soph's mom is dying because she has like, I think like a liver disease. And you know when you have fucking jaundice, your eyes fucking yellow.
Yeah.
And it's a song about like Soph like coming to like being honest that like, dude, like you're gonna die. You know what I mean? Like, I keep lying to myself that you're gonna end up being fine, but it's like you're gonna die, dude. Like, and I'm gonna have to deal with that shit. I don't want you to, and like, I don't know, just like that. Obviously, there's always songs about people dying or people that you love being taken away, but just like that subtle angle of instead of just talking about your mom dying, let's talk about the slow process of it happening and you like having the unfortunate experience of being acutely aware of your fucking mom's mortality. You know what I mean? And now you couple that with like the chords that she decides to use. Like the majority of the song is in major 7, so it sounds like a minor, but it stays in a kind of like a happy tone. And then like the lead guitar she puts in it, she like does something where she like adds like a delay and a chorus to make it sound like a surf guitar. So again, but it's playing like that major 7 minor lead. So it's like almost like, oh man, like it's almost like a nostalgic memory of when you used to go surfing. You know what I'm saying? Like it just all feels, she properly captures the emotion and it drags on purpose. And once you get to the end and she gets into this just like beautiful, almost like lullaby type outro, and then you correlate that to her mom, and you know obviously your mom usually sings you lullabies to sleep and shit, and then she's flipping the role there where she's singing, and then your mom's like, it's very, very powerful. You know what I mean? And there's just, you know, I could go on all night talking about this album, but the great thing about it is Soccer Mommy, while it's a band, it's Soph's music. She has a band that helps her put it together in the studio, but like if you even listen to her Song Exploder, she does a Song Exploder for Circle the Drain where she talks about the process of writing, recording, mixing, all of that stuff. It's very clear that this is her project and she has like help, you know what I mean? And she's very aware of every single process that goes into every song, and you could just tell. And it's always apparent. You like, no matter what, if you are a music lover or a creator of music, whatever the case, you could tell when a lot of love and care was put into the music. You could tell when it's genuine. And the main thing that I take away from Soccer Mommy's color theory is it's one of the most genuine and earnest albums I've ever heard in my life. And given everything that's happening in the world right now and everything that you go through personally because of the environment around you, on top of what you normally already go through, this album was able to help me navigate through this fucked up year. And even though right now it feels like 2020 sucks and I'm gonna fucking hate this year forever, I think 10 years down the line, the thing that I will end up remembering the most was that, sure, things sucked, but I had Soccer Mommy's color theory with me the whole time. And I'll never forget that shit. So shout out Soph, shout out Soccer Mommy. Thank you for making one of my favorite albums of all time. I'm sure as the years go by, this album is going to end up in my top 10 albums of all time list. And yeah, I'm certain it will. And hopefully Soph hears this. Hopefully Soccer Mommy hears this, because it definitely saved me this year. So yeah.
Yeah, and then I know you want me to listen to them. You've recommended Soccer Mommy to me. I did listen Clean.
Oh yeah, that album. Yeah, 2
yeah,
years ago. Yeah.
I remember that was
That album was
one of
really
your-
good too.
Yeah.
I had it at 12, I think, that year. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I especially with the aesthetic you're going for right now with that cover, that's I feel like they definitely know what they're doing more, you know.
And this is one of the bands where I said like they're definitely influenced by the early 2000s. Like again, listen to her song
Mm.
Exploder. She talks about how she wants to sound like Sheryl Crow, which is like who
Mm.
no one says that. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Well, for my number one, um, I've only listened to another album of this artist called Little World. It's not really. I don't think he's really that well known. Let me see what. Let me see if it says what label he's in. It doesn't share. It doesn't show. But anyways, his name is Zach Villaire, and the album's called Cardboard City. And I started listening to this kind of the beginning of quarantine, and I really enjoyed his last album, Little World. I feel like he's mostly a keyboard player and a producer. But he's also the skinny, scrawny, nerdy looking white guy. And even though he's talented, and his songs sometimes, like especially with Little World, some of them even reminded me of like Tyler's um, Flower Boy.
yeah.
Like some of the melodies that he does, and yet he's still very lo-fi, or like it feels like it's his hobby that he got good at. Um, when this album came out, Cardboard City, um, I actually liked it from the very beginning. As for my first listen, I thought I was gonna be disappointed, but nope. I think it's better than Little World. What he does great a lot of times is like part of the album that makes it great. Sometimes is the skits as well, and I think like in the first album I listened to, Little World had this whole skit where like they find like an alien, and even though it's just like sounds, he was able to make it come to life. Like I was seeing images in my head, and in the same way with this album, with his skits and even his songs, where like I could picture the things he's saying or the sounds he's putting together. Like he had this one skit called My Hero, and it's just him being mugged by somebody. He was mugged off. His Jordans was taken from him and stuff like that. But then a hero stops by and saves him and stuff like that. Um, I guess what the album makes me feel is that it's simple. It's a lot of like kind of like love songs or songs about him dealing with kind of his image, because he's not like a strong person. So he was like he had superhero strength, you know? And the way it sounds and feels gives me this nostalgic feeling, kind of like how Sugar does, from Ginger.
Yeah.
And like it's hard to describe this album and Zach Villar as an artist himself, because I feel like I could describe a lot of his sound to other artists, but at the same time they're so different.
Yeah.
Because like like I said, I could compare it to Sugar by Ginger, yet I guess his is just much more indie, less rappy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, and what else does he have here? Some of his melodies too, I feel like they're inspired by what's his name? Frank Ocean. So there's a lot of these influences that are just melded in. It just, even though that the production sounds good, it still feels unrefined because of his personality itself, where like he's pretty, down on himself, or he could make fun of himself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, to me that's just like very authentic, very sincere. And like when I first listened to this, it just made me feel better about myself. and also just like I said, it made me nostalgic for almost like simpler times like high school and stuff like that, where this is the only things I worried about.
Right.
So I guess like there's this feeling of innocence throughout this album that I just really like.
Yeah.
Coming from someone who seems like an underdog.
Word.
Yeah, and then like some of my favorite songs, Sore Throat. Oh man, I feel like if you listen to that, you'd also like it just because of how he sings it. Just sounds like I don't know. It draws so many comparisons, but it's such a disservice to compare him to anyone. And some people might feel it's a disservice to those artists being compared to him because he's much more unpolished.
Like
You know, like
lo-fi, yeah.
lo-fi. Yeah, like a lot of times I just feel like I see my friend from back in the theater sing this. He kind of looks
Yeah.
the same too, you know. And maybe that's another reason why. It's just like, man, this person's like kind of like nerdiness is very, very charming in a way,
Yeah.
you know. And I get there's just like his songs feel inspired. Yeah, I mean, you just listen to it. It's a very simple album. You're not. It's not gonna make you think. Really, it's just gonna make you feel as if you're back in high school again. So.
Hell yeah. I remember you talked about him in the mid-year, and I fucking completely forgot. So I gotta check it out, man. I gotta check. I know you showed me a couple. I don't know if it's from this album, but you showed me a couple songs from before. He has cool videos too. So
Yeah. And I think I don't know. It's like I don't know. I guess just listen to it and then tell me what you think. It's I think he's definitely gotten better as far as like his taste and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it might appeal even more to you now. So
hell yeah.
yeah.
Well, dude, we did it, man.
Yep.
The top 20 releases of 2020. I'll make sure to check. There's definitely a few that I need to check out. Hopefully, everybody that's stuck around here fucking got something. Maybe you guys learned about a new artist that you want to check out. If you do, let us know what you think. If we missed anybody, let us know. The good thing is we always create Spotify playlists that accompany these lists. So Dark Ruffalo will be making a Spotify playlist of his top 20 releases, and he'll pick one song from each album. I'll do the same, so there'll be two kind of playlists that we share out with folks after these we drop these lists, so you could listen. Maybe you'll discover a new artist. But again, if we missed anything out, let us know. Shouts out to another TV viewer, A10, Big Cortana, Commander Root, FTO Payer, Go With Him, Ice Wizards, Joint Effort, Let's Do This Music, Mr. Creeper 905, Miss Ledity, Silly Gnome 225, and Violets TV. Thank you all for pulling up on us, for staking with us. There's a few of you all that was here. We did this for 5 hours, cuz.
I know.
Holy shit, man.
I'm
tired, cuz. We got to get to bed.
Same here.
Holy
Same
God.
here.
Well, thanks, you
All
Twitch,
right, guys.
for joining us. Thank you, Dark Ruffalo. Where can they find you on socials, bro?
You guys can find me at the Holographic Children on Instagram.
And for me, you can find me on Instagram at Medium37Frank with a C, and at Twitter at WGWW Frankie with a KIE. And also, now that we know we could do on repeat on Twitch and y'all will pull up, we're doing more episodes. We'll likely keep them Saturday nights. We'll try not to do 5 hours every time. Anything from you, Dark Ruffalo?
I guess that's pretty much it. I'm just looking forward to the new year because you are gonna have an album release. I'm gonna have an album release.
You too.
Hey guys, watch out for that. Wave Gang is gonna be back in full force. So
We're trying to be on y'all's 2021 list. So, give us a chance.
Exactly.
If we're trash, tell us. Get on stream and tell us, please. Like, maybe I should stop rapping. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's been a while since we've done this. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Dark Ruffalo, again. This is our third year list together. Hopefully we do another 30, bro. Fuck it. But after 30, I hope I die. I don't want to be alive that long. So, as we say on the On Repeat podcast, zip it up
and